Gregory?
Yes, beautiful morning.
You had to think about that one,
No, I'm
didn't you?
just looking at the headphones. They were coming out funny in my ears.
Oh,
But
that's
all's
all
good
right.
now. Yeah,
Somebody
everything's
said to me yesterday, towards the end of the week's going to be good, right? And I said that today, and then somebody else said to me, "Do you know how it's like kind of Chinese whispers?" So is the end of the week?
No. It's going to get a bit warmer, but it's today and tomorrow's not terrible.
When are we going to get back to the
Well, probably not. I don't
Barbados
know.
weather?
There's no plans for it, but who's to say? You just don't know. But there's nothing in the, as far as I'm aware.
But today's good. We'll just keep it in the moment.
You have to worry about the Sahara dust coming in now over the next couple of days.
You serious?
I think we're going to talk about that later on to find out what exactly goes on. But it's amazing. It's just like, wildfires or sand being whipped up and it comes across and it's deposited on the cars. I get a wild hit with that in the windows.
Do you really?
Yeah.
And
But
tell
I
me,
taste it sometimes.
but sure, it's not
I
that
taste
windy.
it and I go, wow, you came from Africa.
That's camel.
No, but I do. I look at it and go, wow, I'm literally
Greg,
tasting something
stop making up stuff.
I swear I do.
You taste the camel on the top of your...
It's not camel, it's sand.
What do you think's on the sand? What does the camel do in the sand?
But can you... All right, okay. So I... there you go.
Oh, look, you don't have the camel
Well,
threw you
stop
off.
it in time.
Don't you get humpy on me now?
Here we go, listen to
They're
this.
ruining my life. I used to be able to run a successful burglar boot camp. We produce some of the finest burglars in Ireland. But now, all my students are terrified of phone watch, and so am I. With their damn 15 seconds response time, 24/7 monitoring, the app, camera motion detectors, wireless video doorbell. I might never be able to burgle again. Get the alarm Burglar Sphere for just €49. Don't be alarmed. Be phone watched. Offer ends June 30th. Monitoring fees and terms apply.
Don't you blame me for that?
But I don't know what
Did you get the
happened
hump
there.
with me?
It's very funny.
Good luck.
Yeah, wide along neck.
Yeah.
It's not. So you saying I'm making camel poo off the car?
Yeah, and pee-pee.
Camel pee pee. Go away, will you?
See you tomorrow.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock and it's the 9 till noon show. Time for a news update. And good morning, Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A major change to renting will see Donegal and the rest of Ireland designated as a rent pressure zone. The new rules that will go to Cabinet for approval today mean landlords can only reset rents if a tenant voluntarily leaves their property, while a 2% cap will not apply to new houses and apartments, with rents solely linked to inflation. Mary Conway, chairperson of the Irish Property Owners Association, says it was thought that the RZPs would be scrapped.
I don't know what way the government is thinking. The IMF came out in 2015 and said, long-term rent control was a bad idea. The government commissioned the Housing Commission to do a big report. They also said that rent control was a bad idea. So, they have all the experts giving them the information and they've done a complete U-turn.
The average spend for an Irish wedding is around €10,000. 1 in 4 couples will spend up to €50,000 according to the survey by online savings platform Raisin Bank. 45% of those surveyed said they're willing to go into debt to fund the cost of the wedding, while 85% said they'd like to receive cash as a present. Most said the correct cash present is between €1 and €200, with 20% saying it should be €300. An Inishowen councillor is pressing the government to quickly provide money so that Rourke, Nasleitcha and Carndonagh can change into a recovery-focused crisis centre. At a recent meeting, the HSC told Councillor Jerry McMonigal that all the required documents have been sent to the Department of Health. The aim of this change is to reduce the number of people admitted to the psychiatric department, and it would mean that people with acute conditions can stay in their own homes while getting the care they need. Councillor Albert Doherty stressed that the government now needs to act quickly.
The jigsaw piece that's amiss is the approval of capital funding, and if we get that allocated as soon as is possible, HSE say that the timeline is between 18 months and 2 years to complete what is a very exciting project for Rourke, Nasleitcha and Donegal Mental Health Services.
The Oireachtas Committee on AI will hold its first ever public meeting this morning. TDs and senators will discuss how Ireland can become a world leader in artificial intelligence. The committee will hear from experts on how the new technology will reshape Irish jobs, the economy and everyday life. Committee Chair Malcolm Byrne says the committee won't be a talking shop.
It will be a public debate, so that we want to hear from members of the public, from interested organisations. I'd hope that over the course of our hearings, that the public will tune in, that that they will be informed. For us as politicians, we're learning in the same way as everybody else is doing it. But I think it is important that while we have all of this innovation, we do need to balance it with regulation.
Looking now to weather, generally dry today with brighter sunny spells developing as the day goes on, with highest temperatures of 17 to 19 degrees in light southwest or variable breezes. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 10th of June. How are you all keeping? I really do hope you're very well indeed. And it's a fresh enough day across the Northwest. It's bright, a bit breezy, but going to get warm as the week progresses. And we're going to keep you occupied, hopefully, for the next 3 hours and entertained as well. We have our lines right open for you right now. So whatever we talk about throughout the course of the morning, if you've got a view, an opinion that pops into your head, share it with the people of the wider Northwest and the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that listen or watch across the world. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number. If you are outside the Republic, 0035386 60 25,000. We still love to get your calls, of course. 07491 25,000 or email comments at highlandradio.com. If you're listening to the podcast or the overnight repeat, feel free to email. We'll pick up your comments or whatever you want to talk about and carry it into the next live show. And if you want to watch the program, of course you can do so. If you're at home, work from home, or work in the home, it's we're on YouTube, on your smart TV or your Fire Stick, and we're also on Facebook and the X platform as well. Lots of coverage in the papers, but you're also hearing on the news about this move on rent caps. The Irish Daily Mail this morning. The Cabinet is set to rubber stamp controversial plans to make sweeping changes to rent pressure zones that the opposition, academics and homeless groups insist will fuel evictions. Under the proposals, rents for newly built properties will be capped in line with inflation and not at the current 2% limits. Landlords would also be permitted to reset rents to market rates when a tenancy ends, leading to concerns that this will incentivise the ending of tenancy. So, my son's coming back from Australia, I need the house. 3 months later, you see it on Daft, that kind of stuff. At present, 82% of tenancies are covered by rent pressure zones, but this will be extended to cover the entire country. So effectively, all rental property in Donegal and beyond will be under rent pressure zones. However, the coalition agreed last night that under the new rules, landlords will be able to reset a rent only if their tenant voluntarily leaves. Where a notice to quit is served to a tenant, the landlord can't reset the rent. Seeking to remove any economic incentive for landlords to evict their tenants, those in existing tenancies will continue to have their rent capped at 2% annually. Government sources last night stressed that there would be measures to include stronger tenancy protection and provide greater security of tenure. There was also agreement to categorise landlords according to the number of properties owned. Currently, all landlords are treated the same regardless of how many properties they own, from mom and pop landlords with one additional property to far larger operations. Smaller landlords will now be categorised, it is understood, as 3 or fewer. However, the significance of this new categorisation was unclear last night. The leaders were due to also agree changes to the remit of the Land Development Agency. So it remains to be seen what this will actually mean for renters out there. We'll try and get some comments and views and tease it out a little bit more. I just wonder if, whilst this might offer some protection to those who are currently renting, if new rental properties come to market, does that mean the price of those is going to be driven up? So in other words, you're never going to get your 25-year-old to move out of the house because they simply might not be able to afford a new rent. We'll have to see. I don't know enough about it to suppose too much, but we certainly will be speaking to those that do either today or in the days ahead to find out what that means for you, because it affects the majority of us out there. And people are under pressure. Lots of people are under pressure. And it's highlighted in the Irish Independent today. 102,977 children are living in poverty. That's remarkable, isn't it? There's been a massive rise in the number of children in consistent poverty, with calls for the government to urgently address the situation. A Children's Rights Alliance report shows the number of children in consistent poverty has risen to more than 100,000, nearly twice the previous mark, while the figure for homeless children has also increased to nearly 5,000. The group has called on the government to invest in solutions that address intergenerational poverty, such as resourcing, early years support, proven to be effective, cost of living relief, increasing budget allocations to TUSLA, and tackling overcrowding as a result of the housing crises. There's been more referrals to TUSLA in line with this increase in children in consistent poverty. And, the resources are there. There are opportunities. The government could do targeted supports for families that genuinely need them. We have we have in the past had a lot of universal supports for families, but you certainly could target those most in need. 102,000 children, it's 103,000 effectively, living in consistent poverty. What's deeply concerning is the number of children in consistent poverty who are living in these conditions perpetually, that's forever, which rose by a staggering 45,000. That's Tanya Ward's comments. She's the chief executive of the Children's Rights Alliance. Policy decisions and budget investment determine the fate of these children and young people. So what she's saying effectively, and I'm not saying it, is budget measures over recent years has driven a 100% increase in children living in consistent poverty. So I'll be joined on the programme a little later on by Tanya Ward. And I just really would like her to describe exactly, what living in consistent poverty is like. What does it mean for the children? What does it mean for their families? Maybe that's something resonates with you. Maybe you feel you're living in consistent poverty with no way out, or, choosing that you can only eat meat once or twice a week. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about. Heating or eating. Thankfully, it's a bit milder at the moment, but people are having to make those decisions. We talked last week or the week before about period poverty, and people go, I think people don't really think that exists. But where you might have a mum who's choosing not to purchase quite expensive period products for herself because it's the difference between the kids having chicken that night or not. Lots and lots of people live their lives like that. And it doesn't have to be like that, I don't think. 08660 25,000 if you have a comment in relation to that. The Taoiseach in the Irish Times, he has praised Madeleine volunteers for their Gaza effort. The international group of volunteers detained by Israel on board the Freedom Flotilla coalition vessel, the Madeleine, has been praised by Taoiseach Simon Harris for highlighting the urgent need for humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. Is that how you would frame it? Do you think that's what Greta Thunberg and her colleagues' motivation is? Well, he said it should not fall to any small group of civilians to get aid into Gaza, Mr. Harris said yesterday, as the Madeleine and its 12-strong crew were being brought to Israel port of Ashdod. Now, I hope I'm not being sort of fed misinformation, but I did see Miss Thornburg being given a sandwich, which she seemed to have accepted from an IDF soldier. I mean, if she's that passionate about what they're doing to the people of Gaza, you would throw that back in their face, wouldn't you? But anyway, the question we should be asking today, says the Taoiseach, is not a debate about the merits or not of the flotilla, but how it's come to this, that the world is turning a blind eye to starving children in Gaza. Ireland has consistently called on Israel to lift its blockade and allow unimpeded access of humanitarian aid at scale into Gaza in accordance with international law and humanitarian principles. The crew includes French, Spanish, Dutch and Swedish nationals, as well as Greta Thunberg. The thing about it is they claimed that they were kidnapped by Israeli forces. Now, they were well-resourced and well-fed on that flotilla. I'm not against it for a second because it does start the conversation. But I think, particularly in the context of what's happening in Gaza, and as well, too, the fact that a large number of Israelis and international people still remained kidnapped in Gaza in the worst conditions, I think for them to describe their situation as a kidnapping, given where they are, it seemed a little bit insensitive to me, and maybe a little bit more about themselves than the plight of everyone terribly affected by what's going on over there, but not least, of course, and to the great extent, the millions that are being starved. I posted a video actually up of my social media on my own page of, I saw a video of people just chilling out in Tel Aviv, and it's absolutely beautiful. They're all sort of, along the coast. It's your sort of typical holiday feel, that holiday buzz. There's music and, flames and chatter and the clinking of glasses and music, and everyone just seems so happy. And it was only until I got Google out, I just wanted to know how close, at its closest point, is Tel Aviv from Gaza. Now, if you want to go there by road, it can take quite some time. It's 70 kilometers from Tel Aviv to Gaza. And I just was watching on this video, and that's why I felt I had to share it, of people just happy out, just in heaven. I mean, that's the only way you could describe it. Have a look. It's on my page, Greg Hughes, just in heaven. And yet, 70 kilometers away, a country is absolutely destroyed. People have been herded into the southernmost part of that country, and they're being shot trying to get rice for their kids. It's unbelievable how people are living their lives so differently within 70 kilometers. And the people that govern those people enjoying Tel Aviv are the people responsible for what's happening in Gaza, albeit after the terrible, terrible events of October 7th, 23, which should never, ever have happened. And there should be no hostages being held in Gaza. They should be free to return to their families. But it's just this split in the world. It's unimaginable, actually. To be honest with you, I was shocked and horrified by it, but it actually also doesn't seem real. You wouldn't believe that people would be capable of such. The Irish Sun, a sicko, as is described in the paper, who shared child abuse images, will be freed from prison this month. Kevin Raggett, who's 22, is one of 14 sex fiends who will walk free in June. The paper reveals he will be released from Dublin's Mountjoy prison in 2 weeks' time. He's of Limerick, and he'll walk out of the slammer just 8 months after he received a 22-month sentence for possessing and distributing 455 videos and images of children being abused. 455 images of children and videos of children being abused. And he's going to walk out of the prison in 8 months, having been given a 22-month sentence. During his time in prison, he's maintained a low profile and is being released early as part of a push to tackle overcrowding. So why are we... Why is it these people that are getting out early? What kind of a message does that send, that you can be complicit in the abuse of 455 children and you get out after 8 months because the prisons are overcrowded? How is that possible? What kind of a message does that send? Between suspended sentences and, soft enforcement of sentences, do we really care about our children at all and what they're going through? Well, following his release, Raggett will be put on the sex offenders register until May 2024, but still... 8 months for what he's been part of. And make no mistake about it, you watch, you share those videos, you are part of the abuse of the children in them. That just doesn't seem right at all to me. An Garda Síochána has now the largest fleet of vehicles in its history, as well as new technology systems, following what's been described as the biggest shake-up in the force ever. This is in the Irish Daily Mirror. I just would be very interested to know what Donegal Gardaí think about this. When they look at their vehicles, their high mileage vehicles, some vehicles that aren't actually even functioning. An Garda Síochána has now the largest fleet of vehicles in its history. Maybe the problems in Donegal have been resolved. Well, following a transformation process that started in 2018, an information-led policing approach has seen the issue of 15,000 mobility devices that minimise the time it takes to retrieve information. A lot of them are handheld, by the way. Officers are piloting 700 body-worn camera vehicles, while vehicle numbers have risen to 3,672, including new specialist vehicles such as 2 water cannons. Can you imagine we need water cannons in this country now, or do we? Along with public order and community engagement vans. But apparently it's the best equipped the Gardaí has ever been. And I just wonder, does every guard around this county and country feel that that's the case? All right, that's your newspapers for this morning.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
At the Central Statistics Office, we're trusted to gather all sorts of information. So, we count lakes, stakes, and haulage intakes. We count wages, ages, and all of life's stages. We count loans, phones, still living at home. We count euros and cents and housing and rents. We count Mars, electric cars, and the price of a jar. Because this data informs important decisions on everything from economic activity to housing policy to what to call a new baby. And we can't do it without you. CSO, count on us. We count on you.
Sometimes you have to simply enhance what you have. Like the new Opel Mokka. With a new infotainment system, dash, and interior. It's had a little work done. After all, it's what's on the inside that counts. As for the outside, why mess with perfection? The new Opel Mokka. It's a head-turner. Available in petrol, hybrid and electric. Find out more at Manor Motors Opel. See manormotors.ie for details.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up? Fresh colour for your walls? Or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
You know that guy I've been seeing?
Yeah?
Turns out my sister's been seeing him too.
Oh, really?
And I heard he's been seeing Siobhan at number 56. And Declan.
Your brother?
Yep.
Specsavers opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
I've got something to tell you. I've got half an hour with him this afternoon.
Specsavers. Your care is our business.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time's 21 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme now by James Sexton. James, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Now, you are part of End Discrimination in Inheritance Tax for Childless Citizens, Edit for Childless Citizens. So what's going on? What's the problem that needs to be addressed in your view, James?
I'm phoning from Cork, and as you said, I'm part of a small campaign group called EDIT, which stands for End Discrimination in Inheritance Tax for Childless Adults. And the situation at the moment is that our inheritance tax rules mean that all childless citizens are treated differently, are discriminated against compared to parents. That's the nub of the green.
Yeah, and there's a big difference, isn't there, between the tax on transferring assets to your children versus presumably, maybe a nephew, a niece, or someone you're not related to.
Absolutely.
So what are the differences?
So maybe if I just explain my own situation. I'm married to Sheila, and we met and married a little later in our lives, in our 40s, and we weren't unable to have a family of our own, but we do have a family of loved ones who are a very important part of our lives. But when we got married, obviously we were advised to make our own individual wills. And it was then we discovered that the inheritance tax legislation treats parents very differently to childless citizens. So in our case, we're able to pass tax-free assets only up to 40,000 to each of our loved ones. We are not able to pass tax-free the same amount of assets as parents can. Parents can pass assets up to 400,000 tax-free to each of their children, whereas, as I said, myself and Sheila, we're only permitted to pass assets up to 40,000 to each of our loved ones. Now, that's 10 times less. And that is discriminatory, and it is inequitable, and we feel that needs to change.
Yeah,
now,
you're not looking for any reductions in couples with children. You're just looking for equity. No. You and Sheila, your circumstances are such that your assets will be distributed to your loved ones. You just want it to be fair then.
Absolutely. We're 100% not advocating for anything to be removed from parents and their children. But as you say, we are just advocating for equality and an end to the discrimination that's faced by all childless citizens. Now, we're talking about over 1 million childless citizens in this country. Ireland actually has the third highest rate of childlessness in the developed world at 18.7%. That figure was actually taken from 2014. Obviously, it will have increased over the last decade. So this obviously impacts on tens of thousands of childless citizens in every constituency up and down the country. It's also an issue actually that affects parents themselves as well. Not only, obviously, they will have family members, friends and colleagues who are childless, but even parents who have children, parents, they may have elderly relatives, uncles or aunts who are childless. And, in the future, those their elderly uncles or aunts who may wish to pass on their assets to their nephews or nieces, they will be affected because they will only be able to inherit up to 40,000, and they will have, very often, if it's a house perhaps, the house will have to be sold to pay the tax, which will be due on anything above 40,000 within 12 months. And obviously, it very much affects, obviously, childless citizens in particular, obviously.
Yeah. Now, as it stands, even, I'll just use me as an example. Say I'm married with children. I might want to distribute my assets outside of my children, maybe a godchild or nephews and nieces. I would still face the same tax as you might, James. Do you, in that instance, believe the entire inheritance tax system needs overhauling, or is this a special measure that you think could apply only to childless couples? Sorry for the convoluted question, but it might affect far more than just yourself and Sheila, for an example.
Well, we think that obviously that's a decision for the government. Obviously the government has to decide the rules, but the rules have to be fair. They have to be equal for all citizens. Our Constitution states, Clause 40.1 of our Constitution states that refers to equality before the law for all citizens. And it states that the state must not unjustly, unreasonably, or arbitrarily discriminate between individuals. But that is exactly what is happening, simply because of a person's childless status. Now we have Equal Status Acts enshrined in our Constitution as well. So obviously the current legislation, the inheritance tax legislation, came into effect in 1991. We don't believe that legislation has been reviewed at all in light of obviously the Equality Acts in recent years, and certainly in response to the Equal Status Act.
Okay, James, how has it been received so far? I know you do have the year of one or two TDs, but have you had an opportunity to sort of gauge the mood of government in relation to this?
Absolutely. No, we've spent the last 12 months, as I say, part of a small campaign group, and I'd like to mention maybe some of my other fellow campaigners, a more determined bunch you will never find. We only a couple of weeks ago, we were invited by Catherine Arda to give a presentation in the Doyle's AV room, in audiovisual room in Dublin, and that was very, very well attended by politicians, by the Department of Finance. So we do know there are things going on behind the scenes. We know that obviously the legislation is being looked at as part of the tax strategy group papers. But obviously we have to keep exerting that pressure because unfortunately so many childless citizens just are not aware of what is coming down the track for them into the future.
Okay,
so
James, listen,
obviously the pressure has to be maintained.
Thank you very much for that. James Sexton, edit for Childless Citizens, End Discrimination in Inheritance Tax. If that's something that you have a view on or affects you, please do let us know. Interesting comment coming in from a listener here, and it reads as follows. I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. What is the law around the age of leaving them at home alone for the summer? They are currently well-behaved children. Now, this is tricky because there's no fast and set situation here. There's no legal defined age to leave a child at home alone. There is guidance. And the 13-year-old, if they're responsible, the kind of guidance is that they should not be left alone overnight. But the guidance, as I say, if you believe that that they are fit to be trusted, etc., possibly could be okay. Further, the 9-year-old, well, there's no real, that I could find, there's no real guidance in terms of a 13-year-old providing some level of care for a 9-year-old. Now, children under 12 say you can leave them at home alone if you wish, but the guidance seems to be that you don't leave them home alone for long periods of time. But as I say, the listener says that their children are very well behaved. There's no law against leaving them at home alone, but I can understand where they're coming from. You know, is this a summer really whereby they can get to work and leave the children, obviously checking in with them and all, leave the children to their own care at home? 13 and 9. What do you think? Would you have any advice for that listener if you have any experience? I know it's kind of a dodgy one because, you know, people might quite rightly know what's right for them but are afraid of being judged by others. But we don't judge here. You can text us in, that's fine, anonymously. So just to read the question again, of a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, what's the law around the age of leaving them at home alone for the summer? They are usually well-behaved children. There is no law, but you know, you could have a nosy neighbour, and I don't mean that badly, or you could have a relative that doesn't agree with you and they could ring TUSLA, and TUSLA would be compelled to go in and look at the situation, and it could get to be a bit of a handling. As I say, you're not going to be criminally liable, but, you know, is that a road that you'd want to go down? Or maybe it wouldn't happen. I don't know. Please, though, let me know what you think. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or instead give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Quick comment before the break. Greg, I recently stopped at the bus stop beside where Oatfield's factory used to be in Letterkenny. You'll know where that is. I was in the car and I noticed a fella sitting on the wall with a bag. Then I noticed a number of people come along shaking hands with him. It took me some time to realise he was in fact passing drugs to them. How is this allowed in broad daylight? Clearly he had no fear of being caught. As a parent, it concerned me more about the amount getting them than him selling them. Right. I think what the caller's describing is that sort of, you know, you've seen it in the films or maybe in real life, you know, you shake hands and money's passed off from one hand and presumably they're implying drugs to the other. But apparently this person was doing it sitting on a wall right in broad daylight, a high traffic area. Have you seen it? Is it possible? I'm not doubting the listener, but maybe the fellow was really well known too. I don't know. What do you think? 086 60 25,000. Are people that brazen now?
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Ballyreen National School's 5k run and 3k fun run and walk is on this Tuesday the 10th. Chip timing, a flat course and refreshments after in the school hall. Registration is from 5:30 and it starts at 7:30. That's this Tuesday at Ballyreen National School, Letterkenny. This ad is kindly sponsored by Ben Sweeney Aeronix in Letterkenny and Dunlow.
There's any number of new cars out there, but do the numbers add up? With the stylish Peugeot 2008, Fastback 3008 and spacious 5008 electric and hybrid range, they really do. You'll enjoy up to €1,500 trade-in bonus, a free 3-year service plan, a 5-year warranty and a free home charger. Order your 252 Peugeot today at McGinley Motors, your main Peugeot dealer in County Donegal. Offer ends June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Soak up the sun this summer at Home Store and More. From stylish garden furniture to sizzling barbecues, twinkling solar lights and colourful garden decor. Stylish parasols and spacious gazebos, all your sunny day heroes. A welcoming smile as you walk through the door. More choice and more savings we're famous for. Drop by your local Home Store and More or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Fabric World's hot summer sale now on, with fabulous discounts on curtain and upholstery fabric, and half-price pots in our garden department. Summer sandals and fashion from £10. Crafty deals, 3 fabric pieces for £12. And there's always great Euro rates at Fabric World, Maydown, Derry.
Tonight's Euro Millions jackpot is officially the biggest ever. A guaranteed €250 million. So play early for the biggest Euro Millions jackpot ever. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun. Jackpot capped at €250 million. See lottery.ie for game rules.
Now, Marie is part of a group of concerned people walking across the desert to raise awareness of Gaza. Marie joins us now. Marie, thanks for chatting to me today.
Oh, I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Right, Marie, firstly, Donegal will be represented. You'll be carrying the Donegal flag. You have connections to the county?
Well, my husband, Mickey, his family's from Kilcar, and Teelan is his grandmother. So there's a big connection with my husband's family. And we had a house in Donegal for about 25 years down there in Keju. And my daughter, her partner, he's from Dunlow. My husband played in Only Spar in Dunlow for 20 years with the Irish Brigade. And I've very, very close friends in Gweedore. And also my children, they all go to the Irish school, so they all went to the Dunlewy Gaeltacht. So the family have been 50% in Belfast and 50% in Donegal all our lives. Right, and so I'll be carrying a wee Donegal flag, a wee Tyrone flag for Mickey, and a wee Antrim flag for myself, and a wee Irish flag. So 4 little flags to carry with me as I'm walking across the desert.
Right, so talk to me about, I suppose the start point, the journey itself and what you hope to achieve.
Well, we'll all be meeting in Cairo at the weekend, and we hope to get to El Arish and from there go across the Sinai Desert. It might take a night or two, so we'll do so much as far as the group can walk, and then we hope to do it over 2 days, and then we'll be camping at the walls of Rafah for a couple of days, for 5 or 6 days, and then we'll be returning to Cairo. It's a very peaceful protest. We are not planning to storm the walls like the Parisians at the Bastille. We are just a peaceful march, but it has got to the situation now in Gaza where 2 million people in that small area are being starved to death and being brutalised by bombs and bullets. So I think a lot of us feel that we've done everything that we can in Ireland. We've marched, we've protested, we've done everything we can, and we just feel like this is what we have to do now, is actually go to the very walls and say, please stop killing men, women and children. Please stop starving them. Please let the food in and show humanity. We want to see the food go in. We want to see the IDF removed from every inch of territory, and we want the rebuilding of Gaza and permission, and not even permission, the right for the people of Palestine to stay there and to build their nation and to build a nation state. That would be our beliefs in the right thing for world peace. Because international law, Greg, has been broken on every level. If it's broke there, where are our rights? Where are our rights?
And the obviously it's about raising awareness, and you're going to camp outside the gates of the Egyptian authorities. And this is my ignorance, by the way. I'm not being smart. Why would you not sort of the end destination be at a point in Israel or to do with Israel, given the fact that it's Israel that's responsible for what's happening in Gaza?
Well, for one thing, travel to Israel, is very, very restricted. And it's even more restricted to go anywhere near the Gaza border. Israel are going to be far more about stopping you from going to any of the borders. We believe that the Egyptian authorities will be understanding and let us go there. But this is for the Palestinian people. Rafah, this is one of the borders that's being closed. This is one of the borders where all the food is queuing up, and this is the one border that we have a good chance of reaching to the very walls of it.
Yeah, I get you, of course. Marie, you recently celebrated a birthday.
Yes.
74, I believe, which I know you don't mind me mentioning. And that the only context for that is, I'm curious, have you always been someone who would be, protest or advocate for other people's rights, or is this something that you've come to later in life? And happy birthday, of course, by the way.
No. I come from a very strong political background, and I come from a very staunch Irish Republican background too. So I marched with the civil rights movement when I was 17 and 18 years old. And I marched for the Irish Language Act. I marched against internment. I marched for the hunger strikers. I marched for releasing prisoners whenever the ETA ceasefire began. I've just believed in justice and freedom. I always stand on the Irish Proclamation, the right of the people to the ownership of Ireland or any other country, the unfettered control of our destinies. So I've always been a political activist, and I've marched all my life. And I've always marched in the belief that we can create a better society, that to march and to protest, if you believe something deep in your heart is wrong, you have to fight for your future generations. You can't just let injustice prevail.
And Marie, how is there any danger in this exercise? I don't know. Are the Turkish authorities aware, or will they be providing any cover? I mean, obviously, it's going to be a relatively small group of people walking through the desert overnight. Have you any concerns in that regard? Or maybe you're not concerned, but still a threat, a threat remains. What is the security situation for this group?
To be really honest, we absolutely don't know. The Egyptian Authority have they haven't really been that much in contact. They haven't said yes, they haven't said no, so we don't know. To be honest, Greg, we absolutely don't know. We're going to go there. We don't know how far they'll let us go. We don't know whether they'll try and stop us. We don't know if they'll protect us. We don't know if they'll be angry at us for being there. We're really marching into the unknown. If I'm being, as far as I can see anyway, I think we're kind of marching into the unknown. But it's something that the Irish people have always been so staunchly with the Palestinian people because of our own history and the fact of the starvation where there's food. Our nation lost millions through starvation because food was brought out of the country. This is a nation that is dying of starvation because the colonisers won't let food into the country. But we know, we see it, we understand it. So we don't know what the danger is. To be honest, I don't think any of us care. We'll face what comes, but we'll face it with dignity and with pride.
All right then, Marie. Well, listen.
We just hope that the Palestinian people hear our voices.
Yeah, of course. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Marie, stay safe. Thanks very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much for the interview.
Okay,
thank you.
Bye-bye. That's Marie there. She's a part of a group of concerned people walking across the desert to raise awareness of Gaza. They are going to leave on Friday and walk across the desert. Walking should take about 3 days, and they are going to then take up camp outside the gates of the Egyptian authorities. Not that they say they have no issue with the Egyptian authorities as such, but they hope that the Egyptian authorities allow them that peaceful protest. There you go, 086 60 25,000. On a lighter note, yesterday I lost my wallet in the car park in Ballybofey. I called Highland Radio and put on a notice to say it was lost. Within the hour, a lady called to say it was found. A lady called Maggie in Drumkeen found it and went to a lot of trouble to get it back to me. She met me last night and returned it. I'm very grateful. I had a large amount of money in to pay a bill. Great to see honesty is alive and well. That comes in from Michael. Very good indeed, Michael. We are good. We shouldn't forget that. We're good people for the most part. Good morning, Greg. Maybe Greta Thunberg didn't throw a sandwich back at someone because the people on the boat were making a peaceful protest. I take exactly what you're saying. Grow up, Greg, sounding like one of those sad sack old men from 10 years ago when she first popped up. The way you're talking about this, the wee doll has been a complete consistent campaigner throughout her life. A bit nasty for you to insinuate ulterior motives to it. Note that the flotilla was still in international waters when lifted. Israel has a track record for committing piracy and kidnapping, and we keep letting them do it. It's an absolute joke. I take your point of view. Thank you. Hi, Greg. Israel is holding 10,000 Palestinian hostages and has murdered and tortured to death some of them and starved other Palestinian hostages to death. And there is not a word about these 10,000 Palestinians. What we have here is the Israelis considering themselves to be the new master race who can wage genocide without consequences and are following in the footsteps of the Nazis. Well, let me be very clear. I'm in no way supporting or backing Israel, just in case that came across in any way, shape or form. This move will greatly benefit all. This is the changes to rent controls. This move will greatly benefit all of the many politicians and political landlords, as if they haven't already made fortunes from cramming refugees into their accommodation. Another, what do rent pressure zones mean for people like me? I have a house rented out. I charge $650 a month as I have a good tenant. There's no bother with her, and I know it's probably all that she can afford. Does that mean that I have to put my rent up to €1,500 in case she moves out and I can't put the price up for another tenant? It's a very specific question. If she moves out, if she moves out, you can do whatever you like, as far as I'm aware. Your next charge would not be the $650 that you're charging now. It would be based on market prices and what have you. I think what the limit would be is if you evicted her, how much you could charge from there. But my understanding of the brief read I've had of it is if that she left of her own will, then you could charge the market rate, which would probably be anywhere between €1,100 and €1,600. She's good to have a good landlord as well as you having a good tenant, no doubt about that. Hi, Greg. The cars that diff all night and are rallying about the place, disturbing everyone. These guys sleep themselves. I read this one yesterday, actually, in their own families. What they suggested is we make recordings and go round to their house and do the same. All right, we've been talking about acts of kindness, and we do see an awful lot of that. Is it something we're missing? Is it something that, not we're missing, though, but something that we're losing? My next guest after the break might have a say about that.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Instead of lying on the beach all summer, Lucy's spending every weekend watching children's football matches. But while other parents are screaming, "Advice," Lucy's dreaming about the barbecue waiting for her at home, full of delicious burger goodness from Aldi. Butcher Selection Irish lean beef burgers, topped with specially selected burger slaw, all served on a toasted brioche bun. Because parents need a post-match meal too. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana, the biggest direct importer of sofas, beds, mattresses and flooring in the Northwest. Best in-stock deals on selected sofas and corner sofas. Best in-stock deals on gas lift beds. Best in-stock on mattresses. Best in-stock deals on laminate flooring, semi-solid flooring and carpets. Full fitting service on carpets and wood flooring. With a free delivery service throughout the Northwest, including all of Northern Ireland. Hegarty's Home Interiors Buncrana. Always lower prices.
Meet the refreshed Volvo XC60 Hybrid, an electric SUV with a backup plan. Its electric range of up to 80 kilometers means you can do the daily commute emission-free. Then switch to the petrol engine for those weekend road trips without limits. Book your test drive at volvocars.ie and be the first to experience the refreshed XC60. Or explore all the other fully electric and plug-in hybrid cars available at McGinley Motors. Volvo Cars for life.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenney's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
All right, let's have a look at that weather forecast for today. And today and tomorrow are probably going to be the best days of this week, but more specifically, generally dry today with brighter sunny spells developing as the day goes on. Highest temperatures of 17 to 19 degrees in just light southwest or variable breezes. Osh Bosh, DJ Osh Bosh joins me on the programme now. Good morning, Osh. How are you getting on?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing
Thanks
good.
for having me on.
It's good. No, it's great to have you with us. Okay. We were speaking a little earlier on about a wonderful act of kindness, and we do see it. But I did pose the question before the break: are we in any way losing it? So, talk to me about your experience recently.
Yeah, so just Saturday afternoon, you can just imagine it, busy in Letterkenny, and I was just on the way down low, and I just came up. I'm from off myself, and come up to Dry Arch roundabout, and there was a 1998 Toyota Jeep. And it was pulled in the middle of the roundabout, just pulled up, and it had obviously broken down. And I just seen it, just as I was heading up, and I was like, geez, I must help him out. So it was an elderly man, and he's by himself, and he didn't even have the hazard lights on. So I was like, Jesus, what's going on here? So I just pulled up the road and then went back, and then tried to help him out. So just went back and pushed the Jeep up the hill out of the way, just out of the way for him. And I asked him, and I says, how long have you been waiting there? And he says 20 minutes. So I just couldn't believe that. So he sat there for 20 minutes, and no one thought to care to stop and see if he was okay or help him out at least or whatever. And it just, honest to God, when it happened to me, I just thought of it more, and I thought, Jesus, is this the way we're really going and so on? Do people just not really care about anyone else apart from themselves anymore, So when I posted the video, I didn't really want to gloat about it. I just wanted to try to highlight it, that like society is kind of changing so much, and it's all kind of me, and just that just shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because, you don't want to sound like you're blowing your own trumpet, but you want to get the conversation out there. It was very clear this guy was in trouble, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he had either engine blown or whatever and so on. And, he was so disorientated, he said he was from Mount Charles, and he was, I'd say, I was putting a guess on him, 70 or 80 in a way, but he was disorientated. He didn't know what to do, and he was actually standing in front of the Jeep itself. So, had something happen where someone hit him from behind, he would have been hit and so on. So it wasn't a very good situation for a man to be in, but I was glad I was able to help him in a way,
Yeah, it must have been awful for him, because you're standing there for that amount of time. You're wondering how you're going to move the car. You're wondering if someone's going to hit you. It's just like it's just a horrible situation that any of us would want to find ourselves in, Osh.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I know he did say he was ringing for help, but I mean, it's more the fact that he stood there, on the roundabout on a busy Saturday afternoon, for 20 minutes, and no one even thought to try and help him, and even push the Jeep, So it's just it's a bit of a strange one, It's just, I don't know, is it a case of people are just caring about themselves, and are they just thinking to themselves, oh, I don't really care about anyone else, it's and what about my day, and not caring about whatever else people are doing.
And the question you're kind of asking is, I mean, maybe people are presuming someone else will do it. You're saying don't presume someone else might do it. Let's not lose that. Let's not lose that part of our great community that we've always had.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you never know. I mean, it could be, if I hadn't come along, you never know how long he would be waiting for. So. My kind of idea of the video and so on was for society to do better, and to think more before, think more about situations and so on, because you never know when you could actually be a helping hand.
Or when it's you never know when it could be you either, do you? All right, brilliant stuff. Listen, I'm sure he's really pleased, and maybe even those close to him are delighted that someone like yourself stepped up to the plate there. So well done to Yosh. Before I let you go, I know you're involved in a fundraiser. And it's an important one. It's for Full Search and Rescue, and also a charity we've worked in the past with also, and that's Huey's Corner. So what are you up to?
Yeah, so as you may know, Greg, I do a bit of DJing.
I heard that, all right.
So every year I do a 12-hour DJ marathon, and I stream it live on TikTok, which is one of my biggest kind of platforms and so on. And I do it actually just up beside yourselves there in the Fault Hill Studios. So big shout out to Tommy over there for helping out with that. But yeah, so what we do is we go live streaming on TikTok for 12 hours straight, and we do a charity every year. Last year we did it for two local boys in Muff who had cancer, and unfortunately one of them passed away. So I was unfortunate, and it's very, very sad. But this year, the two charities that we're doing is, as you mentioned, Foil Search and Rescue, which is and obviously close to Derry and so on. You can see the impact that the Foil Search and Rescue have on the city and so on. That they're fantastic. You see them out Saturday nights, Friday nights, and so on. Doing the work and walking the quays and so on. And then you also have Hughes Corner, then, who are a great service for adolescents and so on, and loss of a young one. So what we're doing is, I'm going to have like all the updates and so on, and the whole release. It'll be on Tuesday the 22nd of July, so it'll be streamed on TikTok, and we're looking for businesses to sponsor prizes if they can to our giveaway and so on, which is also a great way of rumming up some interest and run up donations and so on.
Yeah.
So there'll be a GoFundMe link as well, which will be all on my page, so you can just get me online at Oshbosh, OISBOSH, if you're looking for me there.
Yeah, Ciarán, how's that? That's brilliant stuff. Well done to you and all involved in that. The career's going well at all, very well for you too, because it's not just beat matching and playing records and stuff that you're at, right? Your reputation is really growing as a DJ producer. You're putting your own music out there. What's the release schedule like? How's things going for you?
Yeah, it's absolutely. I think I can't get a break at the minute. I'm doing so many miles. Honest to God, I'm up and down the country nearly every weekend. So it's great. It's great getting the name out there and so on. And it's really gonna. But you asked me where I wanted to be 5 years ago, it would be there. So I'm really, really happy, and I've actually I have a new tune out next month as well. So it's about time I release more music. I need to put the head down towards that part of the game, because it's just been so busy, and it's just been DJing, and I need more producing side, so it's all go. I'm looking forward to Albufeira now in less than a month, so that'll be a great experience once again.
That sounds like it'll be fun. And obviously, you can play your own music at your own gigs, but it's about airplay as well. And I know you've got some really high profile airplay in the last couple of years, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's that one track that drops hard, and next thing you know, people start discovering, your back catalogue, what's coming up. It's just waiting for that one that really gets you through into the stratosphere.
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy, and you can see an example of that with Rebuke there, just in Letterkenny as well. He released that tune, Along Came Polly, and sure, the rest is history, and the local boys from Oville there, just Freck as well. They had one tune, and then they released a banger after that, and then they're doing gigs in California and New York and everything. So yeah, you're just hoping to keep grinding away, and then hoping for that one lucky break. So
not that there's anything wrong with Albufeira. But it ain't California.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, listen, well done. Continued success, Osh. Thanks so much for joining us. That is DJ Oshbosh there, talking in the first instance about coming across an older gentleman at the Dry Arch roundabout. The smoke was coming out through the bonnet of his car. He pulled in to see if it was okay. As it turned out, the gentleman had been there for 20 minutes before Osh stopped. He was obviously distressed, as he would be, and they got the car out of the way. But he's saying, let's not lose who we are here. That being said, it could have just been one of those where lots and lots of people thought someone else was going to do something. But it's not always the case, is it? All right. Coming up after 10, we've got so much coming up on the show, actually. We have community guarded information and so much more besides. So stay tuned for that. We'll take a quick break for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
I've been looking after Mum for a good few years now. It's been hard at times. It's been difficult to find time for myself. I've even had to stop work.
You've worked hard caring for others. Now the state pension can work for you. If you've spent 20 years or more caring for a loved one who couldn't care for themselves, you can now use the time spent caring to qualify for a contributory state pension. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at gov.ie/pension. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
Step out of the ordinary and into the new Lexus LBX, because this is the luxury compact SUV reimagined in every detail, where style, elegance and innovation define a new kind of driving experience. It's your world. Make it extraordinary. Experience the new LBX Hybrid at your Lexus retailer, available with a range of flexible payment options. Lexus. Experience amazing.
Your local dealer is Lexus Letterkenny.
Need rapid care for a minor injury or fracture? Why wait when you can be seen today at Kingsbridge Northwest Minor Injuries and Fracture Clinic? See a GP with A&E experience and avail of further scans and surgery with highly trained nurses, radiologists and orthopaedic surgeons on site. Available Monday through to Saturday in Ballykelly for Leia insured and self-paying patients. Visit kingsbridgegpclinic.com today for further information.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A major change to rent regulations will see Donegal and the rest of Ireland designated as a rent pressure zone. The new rules that will go to Cabinet for approval today mean landlords can only reset rents if a tenant voluntarily leaves their property. The 2% cap will not apply to new homes and apartments with rents solely linked to inflation. Mary Conway, chairperson of the Irish Property Owners Association, says it was thought that RPZs would be scrapped.
I don't know what way the government is thinking. The IMF came out in 2015 and said, long-term rent control was a bad idea. The government commissioned the Housing Commission to do a big report. They also said that rent control was a bad idea. So, they have all the experts giving them the information, and they've done a complete U-turn.
Well, Housing Minister James Brown says the aim of the government is to protect renters and increase supply.
So when I think about renters, obviously there are the renters who are currently renting, and this memo will protect those renters. But also there are all those people living at home in box rooms who want to get out of those homes, out of their parents' homes, into somewhere where they can live, and that means increasing supply. That's the balance I'm trying to bring to the current situation. If we don't get supply, rents are just going to go up anyway.
Well, the government is expected to change how property tax is calculated in a bid to stop major increases. Property prices have surged by around a quarter since 2021, leading to concerns that taxes will also rise. The government is now going to change the way property tax is calculated. That means homes valued at less than €500,000 will see bills increase by less than €23. The Oireachtas Committee on AI will hold its first ever public meeting this morning. TDs and senators will discuss how Ireland can become a world leader in artificial intelligence. The committee will hear from experts on how the new technology will reshape Irish jobs, the economy and everyday life. Committee Chair Malcolm Byrne says the committee won't be a talking shop.
It will be a public debate, so that we want to hear from members of the public, from interested organisations. I'd hope, that over the course of our hearings, that the public will tune in, that they will be informed. For us as politicians, we're learning in the same way as everybody else is doing it. But I think it is important that while we have all of this innovation, we do need to balance it with regulation.
The government is being accused of spending too much money today and putting the future at risk. The state's budgetary watchdog says while the economy is currently in a strong position, the outlook is uncertain into the future. Chief economist with IFAC, Niall Conroy, says the threat of tariffs is already having an impact.
We have a large pharmaceutical sector here, and we have a lot of the large tech companies operating from Ireland as well. So whether or not those sectors are included will be important for how tariffs impact the Irish economy. But even the uncertainty over the tariffs themselves is having an impact. So we're seeing lots of firms now delaying or postponing investment decisions that they would have otherwise made.
The average spend for an Irish wedding is around €10,000. 1 in 4 couples spend up to 50,000, according to a survey by the online savings platform Raisin Bank. 45% of those surveyed said they're willing to go into debt in order to fund the cost of their wedding. And the number of children in consistent poverty in Ireland has risen above 100,000. The Children's Rights Alliance latest edition of its annual Child Poverty Monitor showed the figure rose by just over 45,000 last year. The Alliance is calling for targeted measures and strategic investment to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty. Tanya Ward, Chief Executive of the Children's Rights Alliance, says inflation and the cost of rent are key drivers in pushing children into poverty.
To buy the very basic essentials, we think that a lot of families actually in 2024 were saying we actually can't afford now to put bread on the table or milk on the table. But the other thing that happens around that period is rents. So if you look at the data, it's telling us that the average rent grew in 2024 for new tenancies by 8.1%.
Weather forecast generally dry today with brighter sunny spells developing as the day goes on. Top temperatures 17 to 19 degrees Celsius in just light southwest or variable breezes. Tonight it'll be dry under broken cloud. Lowest overnight temperatures 8 to 12 degrees Celsius in just a light southerly breeze. Some brighter sunny spells tomorrow at first, becoming cloudy though with scattered showers developing, heavy and thundery later on in the evening. Humid tomorrow with top temperatures of 18 to 20 degrees Celsius in a moderate southerly breeze. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines at 11 o'clock. In the interim, check all the latest news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, June 10th. The death has occurred of Mary Duffy, ní Gallagher, Gal Wally Cluhan. Mary's remains will repose at her family home from 12 noon today. House is strictly private from 9 p.m. to 12 noon and on the morning of the funeral. Removal on Thursday to the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Burial afterwards in Kiltyvogue Cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations if desired to Donegal Hospice. Care of any family member or Marley Funeral Directors. A shuttle bus service is in operation from Harkins Car Park, Broca. The death has taken place of Barry Joyce, Pillar Park, Buncrana. Barry's remains are reposing at his late residence. House open today from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass with burial in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place of Susan Monaghan, ní Campbell, 5 Marlborough Avenue, Derry, reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30, going to St Eugene's Cathedral for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the city cemetery. The death has taken place of Pat O'Connor, Milltown, Malin Road, Carndonagh, reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there at 10:40 a.m. tomorrow morning, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. Family time please from 10 p.m. tonight. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Carndonagh Community Hospice Fund, care of any family member or Kelly's Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Peter Wilson, Creevy, Carrigart. Peter is reposing at his late residence. Removal from there to Carrigart Presbyterian Church for service of Thanksgiving at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Family time please on this morning before the funeral. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu if desired to ICU Letterkenny and Galway, care of any family member or Seamus Gallagher Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Charlie McAwee, Letterbrick Clohan, and formerly of Philadelphia, USA. Charlie's remains are reposing at his home. Family time this morning before the funeral. Funeral Mass at 11 o'clock this morning in St Joseph's Church, Letterbrick, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Kilworth Cemetery. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio. Instead of lying on the beach all summer, Lucy's spending every weekend watching children's football matches. But while other parents are screaming, "Advice!" Lucy's dreaming about the barbecue waiting for her at home, full of delicious burger goodness from Aldi. Butcher's Selection Irish lean beef burgers, topped with specially selected burger slaw, all served on a toasted brioche bun. Because parents need a post-match meal too. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
You're very welcome back to the programme. Great to have you on board. Garda Claire Rafferty is going to be joining me in the not too distant future for the very latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána, where you can listen and watch them live here first on the 9 till Noon Show. Hi Greg, can I ask about blood prices at doctors' surgeries? In the past 5 weeks, I paid 40 by 3, 25 by 1, 60 by 3 to get bloods taken, and 3 doctors' appointments also, €25 to get a prescription. I wrote maybe I'm wrong, but it's not worth working. When you're sick, that's not counting the chemist fees for medication. At €80, that comes in from Lily there. That's a lot of money, Lily, isn't it? And I think there is some confusion about whether, bloods are for diagnostic reasons or otherwise, as to whether or not, for example, they might be covered by a medical card. Hi news team, let's see how open Greg is to Drew Howiss's comments on Gript about recruitment of Gardaí in the iPass centres. Will he not mention it or just sweep it under the carpet? RTE did not cover it as expected. Didn't see it, to be honest. I can't sweep anything under the carpet if I don't see it. But I presume they were. This was off the back of a story that Gardaí were recruiting at iPass centres. I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I did actually read it somewhere else, if I'm not mistaken, I think Drew Harris said that wasn't happening, and then he was re-advised by his press officer that it actually may well be happening. I'll have to look a bit more deeper into that. I do consume an awful lot of news, but I don't get everything. Let me tell you, by the way, there ain't no conspiracy. I'm not involved in any conspiracy where I don't do stuff or brush it under the carpet. If you want to direct it at RTE, that's perfectly fine, but that's not how I roll, and anyone who knows me knows it's not how I roll either. And I'll be honest with you too, if you want to talk about who picks up on who, there's been an awful lot of content from this show that's actually appeared on Gript. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, or it doesn't matter at all, but that's the fact. So if you are a Gript subscriber, you'll often see comments from Highland Radio or video clips from this programme that seem to appear on their website. Ask yourself that. We get quoted on all media, be it Gript, RTE, News Talk, wherever it might be. We do get quoted on that because we might be a local station in the local area, but we actually produce national news as well here. There are a lot of very caring people around, says a listener. A gentleman stopped with me in hospital car park. I just couldn't find my car keys, but I had opened the car, so they had to be somewhere. But I appreciated his concern for me very much. Thank you again if you are listening. Well done. And, maybe this is an opportunity. It was, I think, really great remarks from Osh Bosch, just to make sure that we don't lose, who we are. But also, if something nice happened to you, or if you want to thank someone for helping you out, please get in touch with us and let us, it's a real great way to thank them for us to read it out here on the show. So if you're that gentleman that stopped with this person because they couldn't find their car keys, you made a difference to them. Well done. Greg, is that the same book again? Let me just see. Yeah, it is. Okay, another guy saying, why don't you cover Grip News? The water cannons are for us. When hate speech laws, triple lock-up passed, this has been in motion for a long time. Highland can't say they haven't been told and claim to be innocent, and our station is free speech. You talk at both sides. Yes, exactly. We talk at both sides, Brendan. Thanks very much indeed for recognising that. Every time you have a question on, questions are pre-done or pre-recorded. Nonsense, rubbish. My word, that's the thing I hate. Let me see. There was the Minister for, just to run that past, the Minister for Housing was up recently, and there was a time whereby ministers weren't able to come on because they say, it doesn't match our schedule. And I understand that, but I thought, you know what? Well, find a slot in your schedule. So in my own time, I drove up to Lifford to do the interview with the Housing Minister and get some important questions on the record as it relates to the concerns of people with defective concrete block, the lack of a publication of the planning report, and I don't, there's no questions off the table. And when ministers don't like your questions, sometimes they stop doing interviews with you. That's fine. But that's not because they weren't asked questions. That's because they were asked questions. Greg, I'm reading on page 7 of the paper, over €14,000 was spent on sending councillors from Donegal to America for St. Patrick's Day. What is worse is taxi costs and other expenses have to be added to it. The gravy trains continues, no sign of it derailing, yet we in Buncrana are still waiting on a leisure centre. Despite it being a priority, it still sits empty. The one thing now about, and the cost used to be much higher, the one thing now about the council's trips to the United States is I believe there is a report and it's a breakdown of where the money was spent, what events were attended, and you can have a look at that. I don't know if it's out there yet, but you can have a look at that and then I suppose see was €14,000 worth it. Well done, Marie. Have a safe journey, all of you, says a listener. Marie was on beforehand. She's walking across the desert in support of Gaza. Another caller says, much as I don't like what the Israelis are doing in Gaza, I don't see the point in Irish people walking through a desert to a country named Egypt, who've done nothing to help their neighbours in Gaza. That woman is a delusional lefty. I bet she won't be carrying rosary beads with her head on her desert trek or a Bible. Well, you can't have it both ways. People believe people coming here should respect the Irish culture. I suppose, if you go to another country, we generally do respect their cultures as well. What does it matter, though? We're talking about it. It's like that flotilla. The amount of food that they had on that flotilla made absolutely no difference to it, and maybe their intentions were sound, but it got the international media talking about Gaza. Marie's got us talking about Gaza again. She's going to be on other radio stations, I am sure. There'll be pictures of what they're doing that will go out on social media, and maybe that will resonate with people, So, in a way, she's already achieving what she set out to achieve. How does Greta Thunberg earn money to live? Well, she'd be supported in her work. People that believe in what she's doing would help and support her, I'm sure. Another caller says, my niece saw a man passing drugs at the top of the Port Road last week. She said it was in broad daylight as well. This is worrying if that's the case. We've already had 2 reports of this happening. A caller says there are people who can barely afford to feed their children and heat their homes if they're lucky enough to have a home. So I doubt many people in Ireland will be able to relate to the inheritance tax issue. I'd love to have that problem. Another caller says, while we're at it, can we address the issue of deemed disposable? In Ireland, the primary avenues for building wealth are limited to property and pensions. It's time for a fundamental review of how PAYE workers can realistically and fairly build long-term financial security. Well, that's the struggle I have as a PAYE worker. It's accumulating any buffer. Now, we're lucky in that, we can afford to live, right? But not extravagantly, and certainly can't sort of build up a resource for retirement, if you get that far, but it's not too far away. So unless you can sort of buy a piece of land and build a house and sell it, or have a property, sell it and develop 2 other properties, there's no real way of accumulating. Well, I don't see any real way of legally accumulating any wealth. Inheritance tax should be abolished, says a listener. The state taxes us on everything during our lifetime, on our labour and on our spending. So what we have left to give our loved ones is ours and should not be subject to further taxation. No wonder the government's civil servants spend our money so foolishly when they're getting it so easily. And Tusla informed me there's no defined age for leaving kids at home, but they should not be left alone overnight. Recommended that they have access to a phone if home alone. That's for the listener who's in that tricky situation. Coming into the summer, kids off school, 13 and 9, responsible, well-behaved children. Is it okay now at this time, if you've regular contact with them, to sort of allow them at home on their own? And you can see the advantages of that. Maybe not having to look for favours from family, or maybe not having to pay a child carer. We were talking about the cost of living. It is an interesting question, and one lots of parents. Well, I think all parents actually. You come to a point, you go, right, are they okay on their own? There you go. Okay, Community Garda information on the way.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 10th of June. You're playing on the brown sheet for the daily prize of €800. The reference number is S17. It's game number 24. The numbers are 4, 8, 67, 12, 13, 14, 33, 62, 74, and finally 72. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Nippy, fun and chic don't often describe insurance, but they perfectly fit the electric Fiat 500 you have the opportunity to win if you get a new car policy from On Post Insurance. For great cover at a great price and a shot at the Fiat 500, get a quote at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply and are available at onpostinsurance.ie/promotions. Competition ends December 31st, 2025. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as On Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post.
Celebrate your love at Encourage Hotel, nestled in the heart of Donegal, with breathtaking views of Errigal Mountain and elegant surroundings. Our venue offers the perfect setting for your special day. Experience exceptional service and create unforgettable memories. Discover more at encouragehotel.com.
Happy Father's Day!
This Father's Day, choose Dior, Paco Rabanne, Yves Saint Laurent, Jimmy Choo, Lacoste. Choose McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. Great gifts for great dads. Click mcgees.ie.
We love you, Dad!
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals. Call Sheridan Security on 91 26025.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. It is time for Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 10th of June 2025. We're joined in studio today by Garda Claire Rafferty, attached to the Buncrana Garda Station. Claire, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, we'll get straight into it because it's quite a busy day, and we'll start off with an incident in Kilmacrennan.
Yeah, so this incident actually happened last night in the Milford district. We're investigating that happened in the area of Gortnery, Kilmacrennan, in the early hours of this morning, the 10th of June, at approximately 12:15 a.m. As part of our investigation, we're seeking dashcam footage from the area of Gortnery and the surrounding areas between 11:30 last night, Monday the 9th of June, and 12:30 this morning. We're also interested in hearing from anyone who may have observed a red-black scrambler motorbike in the area with 2 males on board between those times. So anyone with relevant information is asked to contact us in Milford Garda Station on 074 915 3060.
And Milford Garda also investigating an incident that occurred towards the end of last month.
Yes, I believe you may have discussed this on the show already, but we're just making an appeal. So Gardaí and Milford are investigating the incident that occurred in Carrownagana, Milford, which is between Milford and Termon, and this happened in the early hours of Thursday the 29th of May, and it was at approximately 3 a.m. that night, so Wednesday night. A man has reported that he was driving at that location when 3 men who were wearing dark clothing emerged onto the road from a vacant farmhouse along the roadside. One of the men then demanded that he exit the car, while the other 2 blocked his path ahead. Thankfully, the driver managed to leave the area. And now our investigation into this matter is ongoing, and CCTV is being sought as part of that. So I'm appealing to anyone who may have been in that area with a dash cam between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and to make that footage available to us. If anyone travelled in that area and observed 3 men on foot, or if you can assist us with any information in relation to this, we ask you to contact Milford Garda Station. Again, it's 074 915 3060, or the Garda Confidential line is there as well, which is 1800 666 111.
All right, on to burglaries now, and burglaries in Fintown first.
Yeah, so 3 vacant houses in the Ballynafinna estate in Fintown, which is behind the Udras na Gaeltachta building, were broken into over the course of the weekend of Friday the 30th of May and Monday the 2nd of June. So not the weekend gone, but the weekend before. Most of the windows in the 3 houses were smashed and entry was gained, but nothing was stolen. So we're appealing to anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity in that area over the course of the weekend there to make contact with us. And the number there is for Ballyshannon, which is 071 985 8530.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of smashing, a lot of banging. Someone may well have seen something, and it may make sense now that you've heard from Claire in relation to that. Get information to the Gardaí there in Ballyshannon or any local Garda station, or as always to the hotline. I will tell you about that in a moment. Right, now, a burglary this time in Stranorlar.
Yes, so Gardaí are appealing for the assistance of the public in connection with this burglary that occurred at a closed down factory at the Glebe Stranorlar on the Letterkenny Road between 7 p.m. on Thursday the 5th of June and 10 a.m. on Friday the 6th of June. So a front window of the building was smashed and entry was gained there. Nothing was stolen from the premises, but if you observed any suspicious activity or vehicles in the area over the course of those days, we ask you to make contact with us in Ballyshannon Garda Station on 071 985 8530.
Now, thankfully, an appeal that doesn't come up too often, and that's the theft in relation to the theft of a horse.
Yes, so we're appealing for information in relation to the theft of a Bolognese horse from a field in Chur, Muff, between 5 p.m. on Saturday the 31st of May and 10 a.m. on Sunday the 1st of June. So the horse in question is male, white in colour, 3 years old, 16 hands in height, and it has an anchor branding on its neck. So we appeal to anyone who may have observed any suspicious vehicles or activity in the area between those dates to get in touch with us. Or should anyone have any information in relation to the whereabouts of the horse at present, or should anyone come across it for sale, just bear it in mind and give us a ring please in Buncrana on 074 9320540.
Yeah, because the community, that would be interested in horses is big, but it's also tightly knit. It's quite distinctive, isn't it? White in colour, male, 3 years old, with anchor tattoo on its neck. So someone's going to come across it at some point or other, you'd imagine. Get in touch with Gardaí. This time it's the theft of a trailer.
Yeah, so this is in Pettigo. We're investigating the theft of a blue twin-axle trailer, which was taken from outside a house in the area of Mill Street, Pettigo, on Friday the 6th of June at approximately 8:30 p.m. So a blue transit van pulled up alongside the trailer and a male passenger got out and attached the trailer to the van before leaving in the direction of Letterkenny Road. So we appeal to anyone who may have been in either of those two areas around that time with dashcam to make the footage available to us. Gardaí and Ballyshannon may be contacted on 071 985 8530 with any relevant information, or again, the Garda confidential line on 1800 666 111.
In broad daylight too, so
Yes.
Pretty distinctive information there. This is another relatively random one. I know there was a big festival up in Ballyshannon not so long ago. I'm not sure if it's linked, but gazebos stolen.
Yeah, you're right. It is linked to the festival that was there. So we're appealing for information in relation to the theft of 6 Rockshore gazebos and 19 weights from the market yard Ballyshannon between 3 p.m. on Monday the 2nd of June and 9 a.m. on Tuesday the 3rd of June. These items had been in use at the Rory Gallagher Festival. So we're appealing to anyone who may have relevant information about the current whereabouts of these stolen items or any relevant information to contact Ballyshannon. These are the type of things, it would have taken effort to move them. So we're hoping somebody has seen something and will reach out to us.
Yeah, I mean, they're distinctive. They've got the Rock Show logo on them, which is, the beer logo, and metal piping and whatever it is for their structure. They'd be hard to pass on as well. So anyone with any information on that, get in touch, because there's there's a lot there. They're quite significant. All right, a little further north now to Key Street in Donegal Town.
Yeah, so we're seeking the assistance of the public in connection with a criminal damage incident that happened there on Key Street Car Park, Donegal Town, on Thursday the 5th of June between 1 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. So a car that was parked at that location was keyed on all sides between those times, and significant damage was caused to this car as a result. So we're appealing to anyone who may have witnessed the incident to make contact with Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530 if anyone was in that area with dash cam between those times. We ask you to please make it available to us.
That's for people in Donegal Town, but of course lots of people travel to Donegal Town there, so maybe you saw something. I don't think any of us would like to come out and see our car having been treated like that. And car stolen too, this time in Letterkenny.
Yeah, we've had a number of issues with cars. We'll start with this one. 2 of these were actually at the hospital car park. So Gardaí are investigating the theft of a blue Toyota Sienta with a partial registration of 171D62. It was stolen from Letterkenny University Hospital car park on Saturday the 7th of June between 4 a.m. when it was parked there and 8:25 a.m. when it was located crashed into a ditch at Manorview Park, Letterkenny. So we're appealing to anyone who may have observed 2 males between these times on foot in the area of the hospital car park to get in touch with us, or if you've seen anyone in this car either. So if anyone travelled within the area of the hospital or the area of Manorview Park with a dash cam between those times, I'll give them again. It was Saturday 7th of June between 4 a.m. and 8:25 a.m. We asked them to make the footage available to Gardaí.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's possible that these 2 instances are connected, because there was another significant situation in the same car park on the same night.
Yeah, and similar times as well. So this was Saturday 7th of June between 4 a.m. and 9 a.m. A car that was parked in the car park of Letterkenny University Hospital was damaged. The driver's window of the car, which was a Toyota Aqua, was smashed. It is not believed that the car was entered, so again we appeal for dashcam footage from the area of the hospital car park between those times, and to give us a ring in Letterkenny on 074 916 7100.
Okay, right, I'll have comments about that, but I'll wait till after this item. I don't want to associate the Garda Síochána with them, but more instances of car tampering and damage, this time Ramelton.
Yeah, so between June the 6th and 7th, a number of cars were tampered with and damaged in the Ramelton area. The first one I'll speak about was between 8 p.m. on Friday, June 6th, and 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, June 7th. Cara Toyota Scion was damaged in the area of the mall, Ramelton. A window was smashed and the lock was interfered with. And then the second one was between 11:30 p.m. on Friday the 6th of June and 10:30 a.m. on Saturday the 7th of June. A Nissan Note was damaged at Castle Street, Ramelton. Again, a window of the car was smashed, but no entry was gained to the car. And the third one here was between Friday the 6th of June at 9:30 p.m. and Saturday the 7th of June at 11 a.m. A Lexus that was parked at Castle Street, Ramelton, was damaged also. It's believed that an attempt was made to pull the front bumper off this car, and this caused it to crack, and the spoiler was also removed from the rear of the car. So I'm appealing to anyone who may have relevant information or dashcam footage to get in touch with us in Milford on 074 915 3060 or the confidential line. These are the type of things that, people were hanging around. Somebody may have seen people in the area.
It's kind of interesting too, because I couldn't help but notice that there was certain brands and models and what have you that were featuring here, and then on to the next item. Actually, you're highlighting that actually is maybe something for us to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so we have noticed an increase in the targeting of imported vehicles, and particularly Japanese imported vehicles, which may be due to the lack of security features in many of them. For instance, many second-hand cars are imported and they do not have a fully fitted car alarm system or are without a fitted immobiliser. This makes them vulnerable to hot wiring. If the model has a keyless ignition, it has proven possible to pick up a signal from the key fob from within the house where it is parked. So car buyers and owners can take actions to decrease the risk of the theft of their vehicle. Cars imported from international markets are not automatically manufactured with the same security features as cars manufactured for the European market. So we advise buyers and owners of vehicles to confirm the security features and especially to check if there is a built-in immobiliser and to consider adding some additional security options. So buyers should check the security features of their vehicle and make decisions relating to augmenting security. For cars without an immobiliser, the addition of a steering wheel lock or chain should be considered.
And it's kind of interesting to you reference the fact that, you know, maybe the fob can be cloned without additional security features. That does make the car very attractive to sell. And unfortunately, the people behind this, they seem to know what cars they're talking about, right? So that's a problem. What then can we do after the fact to make our cars a bit more secure, do you think?
Well, I'd start by not leaving any valuables on show in the car, because that's just enticing people. They see an opportunity to get something and they want to grab it and take it. It's very important to lock doors and fully close windows. Consider fitting an alarm to your car if it doesn't already have it. Retrofit an immobiliser or use a physical lock. You can install a tracker in a car now, which is becoming more regular these days. You can use physical security features such as a steering wheel lock and a catalytic converter lock. Fit theft-resistant number plate fittings. Parking under street lights is always good too, because if anyone's targeting your car, they're more likely to be seen. And park where there is CCTV when possible.
And I think really too, we also have to be the eyes and ears of for ourselves, for the Gardaí, for our friends and neighbours as well, because a lot of the activity you've talked about has actually happened really, you know, where people are. So in terms of the bumpers off the Lexus, for an example, the smashing of windows, keying of cars, the theft of a vehicle, you know, these aren't in a car park at a beach. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we talk about
they're very
that.
public areas. So
we need to keep our eyes peeled, I think.
Yeah, we believe people do see people hanging around. They may not necessarily know what they're doing, but if you think someone is suspicious or acting suspicious in the area, particularly in the likes of car parks or near parked vehicles at any location, please give us a call. We'll check it out. If it's nothing, that's fine, but it'd be better if we were contacted.
All right, okay. We're talking about increases in situations. You know, obviously, drier conditions or not, certainly longer days can lead to more sort of in-person calls, bogus calls, and just a warning in relation to that. Claire.
Yeah, so we're aware that bogus callers have been calling to houses in parts of Donegal recently, and that some people have fallen victim to scams by them. So in light of this, we want to reissue advice to those with family members who may be susceptible to having bogus callers and rogue traders call to their homes. So we urge everyone to speak to your elderly family members or neighbours or friends or anyone that you would be concerned with that may get caught out by this. So first of all, we'll say beware of the tarmac scam. This one's gone on a while. So a man or men typically go to door claiming to be builders or workers on a contract who have some leftover tarmac and offering to conduct work on a driveway or surroundings of a building at a low cost. The material then used is often gravel chippings covered with engine oil or the likes of that, or not the right depth and type of materials to form a lasting road surface. These conmen may target elderly, vulnerable residents or businesses and claim to be official contractors working on roadworks to add credibility. They often increase the cost during the course of the work, claiming that the job has required more material than expected, and they may then start issuing threats. They use a variety of work vehicles, which often make people think that they are legitimate. They could have company names, logos on them, but don't take that for granted.
No, and I think just to what you're saying about the chips with the engine oil on, the point there being is if they land up with a trailer or what have you, that's going to look like wet tar.
Absolutely.
And you're going to go, all right, okay, well, you don't want that going to waste. And it's chips with engine oil on. It's of no benefit to you whatsoever. So, obviously you're saying, be vigilant, keep an eye out for this. But don't be afraid to call the Gardaí at any stage in this process.
Yeah, as I said earlier, if you have any concerns at all, just ring us. If it turns out to be all right, that's not a problem. Don't ever be afraid to call us. That's the message we're trying to get across all the time. Give us a call. Let us come and check it out. If you're not sure, we can do more if we're called and get there.
And it's not just about the tarmac scam either, is it?
No, bogus callers offer other services as well, like power washing, gutter cleaning, painting, or they may be selling goods such as tools, generators, etc. So we're aware that bogus callers have called to houses purporting to be there on behalf of local businesses to that area. They do their homework to try and to gain your trust, and to add legitimacy to their story. They may use names of local businesses, even the owners of the businesses, and staff in conversation with the homeowners.
And I think too, people often wonder, well, how do people fall for this? Well, firstly, they target people who may be vulnerable to it, and they can be really quite aggressive. And it can be really hard not to go along with what they're doing. This is a profession. They're professionals, so they know what to do and who to target,
That's it. They know what they're doing. And you mentioned they get aggressive. However, that's not how they approach you at the start. That's saved for later. They gain your trust. And the likes of the tarmac, it looks legitimate. You think you're getting what you're asked for. But our main advice would be, please don't engage with such callers. Don't open your door to anyone before you're confident that that they're known to you or that they have a genuine reason to be there. It would be good to use a chain lock for added security as well. Bogus callers can be intimidating and often refuse to take no for an answer. Contact Gardaí immediately should you encounter such a caller and try to give as much information as possible. A description of the person is great. Registration numbers of cars is very helpful, and even if you watch and see what direction they travel in, it's all very helpful information. But do not agree to have any type of work carried out by anybody who calls to your home.
And keep an eye out on your neighbours, folks. We do have to keep watching each other. Claire Rafferty, thank you very much indeed. We really do appreciate you calling down, and take care of yourself. That was Community Guard information for this Tuesday, the 10th of June, and you can listen back to it on our podcast from 12:30, or you can watch it too on our socials and on Garda Síochána socials a little later on this afternoon, and it's back live for you after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday.
TFI Local Link offers frequent, affordable and sustainable bus services, keeping rural communities in Ireland connected. Save up to 30% on fares when you use your TFI Leap card on eligible TFI Local Link services. For route and timetable information, visit transportforireland.ie.
The law around organ donation is changing. From June 17th, every adult in Ireland will be considered an organ donor when they die. We're doing this to help save and transform lives, and you will have the power to choose what's right for you. Talk to your family and friends to make sure they know your wishes. Find out more about the change at gov.ie/organ donation. A message from the Government of Ireland.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic, Gweedore, 07495 325 75.
Print Supplies and Frosses delivers managed print solutions that save you time and money. With remote servicing and local support, we take the hassle out of printers and photocopiers. Stay efficient, stay supplied. Email sales@printsupplies.ie today. Print smart, save money, trust local.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
So as you've been hearing, rent pressure zones are to be extended to cover the entire country. Sweeping new changes will be brought to Cabinet for approval today, after being signed off by the coalition party leaders and senior ministers last night. Large landlords will now be redefined to cover anyone with four or more rental properties. Landlords will also reportedly only be able to reset rents if a tenant voluntarily leaves their home. Now, we are joined on the programme by Sinn Féin's housing spokesperson, Owen O'Brien. Good morning, Owen. Thanks so much for your time.
Greg, thanks for having me. And just before we talk about this important matter, would you mind if I gave a shout out to my sister, Sinead Ní Bhrin? She lives up in Buncrana, works for ATU in Letterkenny, and just got her first class honours master's degree late yesterday. So
well, congratulations. I didn't realise you were brother and sister.
I suspect she's listening to the show and is now absolutely scarlet.
And, you know, rightly so. That's what brothers are for, to make our sisters scarlet when we get the opportunity. Anyway, congratulations. That's a great achievement. Right, so, I mean, on the face of it, the government are doing something. Will it do anything, in your view, to ease the problems that we have in renting properties?
Well, first of all, renters in County Donegal have been particularly badly impacted by the government's failure to act over the last 5 years. Average new rents in Donegal have gone up a staggering 87% since 2020. That's almost an extra €7,000 a year for a new renter now than when Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael formally entered the coalition. So obviously the extension of rent pressure zones to, for example, Donegal will give some relief to some renters. My fear is the government is giving with the one hand and taking away with the other, because at the same time, those same landlords will now be allowed to reset rents in existing rental properties for new tenants to new market rates. And I think that's going to continue to push rents up even further. I'm also concerned that while they seem to have rolled back a little bit on the grounds upon which an existing landlord can reset rents between tenancies, it's going to be open to widespread abuse by unscrupulous landlords, and we know that they exist. It's going to be very, very difficult to enforce. And the overwhelming majority of renters in Donegal are in rental properties that's owned by a landlord who owns less than 3 properties. So people in Donegal will get none of the additional protections that some renters elsewhere in the country will get. So I think Donegal is being very badly served again, both on the rent inflation side and the protection and security of tenure side. I'm happy to comment more generally, but I do think Donegal's been left behind again.
No, that's fine. Listen, that's our target audience. I couldn't find what distinguishes between a small and larger landlord. I mean, obviously we know the numbers: 3 or less, 4 or more. So, what are the different rules that might apply between them? I know that's probably the role of the government housing minister, but I'll get your comments on it if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I mean, this entire process is totally chaotic. Over the last 2 weeks, different briefings have been given out, and the story has been changing by the day. And I think given the very, very strong public backlash, opposition backlash, but also backlash from renters and homeless charities yesterday, I think the government even made some last minute changes last night. We won't know the full detail until James Brown addresses the media, which I understand is happening at 12 today. And I suspect not until we actually see the legislation will we know the full detail. But what we understand is as follows. Government is going to apply rent pressure zones as they currently exist across the state. Government is going to allow landlords of existing rental stock to reset rent at full market rent between tenancies. For new rental stock built after a certain date, the rent pressure zones will not apply. Inflation will, which means, of course, rents will increase even more dramatically. And then there will be additional security of tenure provisions. We don't know the full detail, but we understand that they will only apply to tenants if their landlord owns 4 or more properties. But it's still not clear whether that will apply to landlords of existing properties or new. The really important point to make here, however, is this. It seems to be that the government's solution to rising rents is to allow rents to rise even more dramatically. And by disapplying rent pressure zones to new rental stock and allowing landlords to reset rents,
Yes,
but
I
allowing
understand
landlords
that.
to reset rents between tenancies is going to push up rents even further at a time when rents are far too high.
Is it
particularly in the
possible,
context
though?
of
We do
prices.
need more housing stock. We do need more apartments and stuff, right? So we do need it to be profitable for people to come up and come in and build those, or not come in, to just actually build them. We also do need our smaller landlords. You know, we were speaking to a landlord a little earlier on, charging $650 a month. The market rate's $1,100 to $1,500, depending when you are in the county. Will they be entitled? They feel they should be entitled to rise the rent if their tenant leaves, so they can make more money from that. And also to, you know, there's a bit of certainty then in the rental market. So is this not beneficial to everyone, arguably, except those who want to move out of the parents' house, you know, and are going to be entering a market with, you know, really quite high fixed charges in there?
Well, let's look at each of those bits in turn, because they're different issues. First of all, large institutional investors, big pension funds, they're not going to be investing in Donegal or Sligo or Roscommon or Longford or Leitrim. So the people who are listening to this show will get no benefit from that. What will happen is,
but what I will say in
represent,
relation to that, though, is we do have our kids down in Galway paying 555
exactly.
quid for one
And
room in a house.
And that's exactly the point I was going to make. So in the cities, what the implications of the government's proposition is that renters here or young students from families in the northwest will be paying even higher rent. So currently, for example, a new rental in Dublin, but for example, in Limerick City and elsewhere, is now €2,500 to €3,000 a month. So actually, the children of the families in Donegal who are in colleges in our cities will be ripped off even more. And with respect to the single property landlords, I have to say, I'd say a lot of single property landlords are deeply unhappy with this, because they see yet again the big institutional investors being able to charge whatever the hell they like. And keep in mind, those institutional investors currently pay no tax on the rent roll and no capital gains if they're structured in the right way. And single property landlords being treated in a different manner. But what I will also say to you, Greg, is this. The solution to the housing crisis across the state, and particularly in the Northwest, is not ever increasing rents for institutional investment, private rental sector properties. One, it's a dramatic increase in social, affordable purchase and affordable rental accommodation, but also it's working with small and medium-sized builder developers who are going to be able to build more good quality homes at more moderated prices for working people in Donegal to afford it. I talked to a lot of those builders. I've met a number of SME builder developers who are either A, trying to get stuff on the private sector side going in Donegal, or B, finding it incredibly difficult to get stuff going on the social affordable side. And they're telling me government is doing nothing for them. So if all the conversation is about facilitating, if not bending over backwards, to facilitate international investment funds to charge ever greater rents in our cities, the people of rural Ireland, the people of our smaller towns and cities, they will be left behind again. The solution is not ever rising rents. We need to stop that. The solution is more social homes, more affordable homes, particularly affordable homes for working people to rent and buy prices they can afford.
But do rent pressure zones not, to some extent, even in Donegal, suppress rents, you know, in line with inflation? That, in other words, there is some level of ceiling or control.
So the evidence from the ESRI answers that question for us. So in the existing rent pressure zones, some renters do have their rents protected, and that means their rents are more affordable. But we also know there's wide-scale abuse of and breaches of the rent pressure zone. So if you take, for example, the Residential Tenancies Board data for last year, existing renters, 80% of whom are in rent pressure zones, saw their rents increase on average by almost 5%, 3 percentage points above the cap. So yes, some renters benefit. But actually what we've been calling for some time, because rents are so high and nobody should be paying 12 to 15,000 euros for a rental unit in Donegal. That's an astronomical rent, which should not be normalised or accepted. We actually need a ban on rent increases for all new and existing renters. We need to put a full month's rent back into every one of those private renters' pockets through refundable tax credit. And then government needs to focus on the real solutions increasing and accelerating delivery of social, affordable and private for purchase homes. Ripping off renters and punishing renters for government failure to deliver the homes that people need is not a solution to the housing crisis.
All right, listen, thanks so much for your time, Deputy. I do appreciate it. That's Sinn Féin's housing spokesperson, Deputy Owen O'Brien there. 08660 25,000 is the answer there. Oh, sorry, it's the number there. Greg, since that man had luck with his wallet, can I mention mine? I lost my wallet on Saturday in the old Lidl in Letterkenny in the afternoon. It contains a lot of sentimental things, credit cards, gift voucher cards, plus my driver's license. So maybe you found a wallet on Saturday in the old Lidl in Letterkenny. Someone really wants it back. It's the sentimental stuff, and the license is a nightmare. Nowadays, you can block cards. You can block cards straight away on your app if you need to, and you might lose some cash. Not that we have it spare to lose, but it's other stuff that's hard to replace. So maybe you come across that wallet. Let's put it back in contact with that owner. We have the number.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Celebrate summer this week at Centra with their amazing summer sizzler offers. Like Red Bull energy drink 4-can packs €4 plus deposit. Kyo's crinkle cut sharing bags €1.50 each. Plus Corona and Peroni 12 bottle packs €17 each. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Since I switched to Hidden Hearing, I can hear it all. You could save up to €3,000 off invisible hearing aids. Save when you switch to us, upgrade, or save on your very first hearing aids. Pre-phone 1-800-370-000. Switch and save at hiddenhearing.ie. You should go to the hearing experts. T's and C's apply.
Smart Meter Plan 2. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. From heating, cooking, lighting, and more. Now you can find out how much electricity you use by hour, day, and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required. T's and C's apply.
Want a new Kia? Call to Heron Auto Donegal to arrange your test drive on our 252 Kia range, where quality customer care comes first. We have 0% finance available on all EV models. Visit Heron Auto on the Killybegs Road to test drive and order your 252 Kia and receive a €500 Super Value gift card. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto.
Come celebrate the 20th anniversary Vintage Day in Kerrykiel this Saturday 14th. Enjoy a fantastic family day with live music, kids activities, butter making, mascots, tilt walkers, vintage cars and tractors, plus a fun-filled dog show. That's the Kerrykiel Vintage Day this Saturday from 12 noon at the church grounds in aid of church funds and local charities.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So, generally dry today with brighter sunny spells developing as the day wears on. Temperatures 17 to 19 degrees and just light southwest of variable breezes. So it will feel quite pleasant today, and it's going to feel a bit muggy tonight because temperatures are going to get no lower than 8 degrees tonight. Dry under broken cloud, lowest temperatures of 8 to 12 degrees and just a light southerly breeze. Really interesting guests in fact coming up for you in the third hour of the show, so stay tuned for that. If you want to, we'd appreciate it. Congratulations to our local lad Mark English on breaking the 800 metres Irish record, clocking a time of, the time is convoluted here on this page. Smashed the record in Holland last evening. Indeed, he won that race as featured on our sport this morning. Mark English is going from strength to strength relatively late in his athletics career. He's a young lad, but you know what I mean. And also to a very busy person. So it's remarkable the level of commitment that must be required from Mark English to be bettering himself at a quite regular basis now, it must be said. Right, so caller says, why do we need more new housing? There was a surplus amount of houses not so long ago, much of which were bought up by vulture funds, including ghost estates. How come we've so many homeless on our streets? There was over 300k properties vacant around the country. Well, there's still a relatively high level of vacancy. It's connecting those people with those houses. I will say it once again, homelessness, the 10, 12,000 people that are homeless, it's not just about providing many of them with a house. There are other supports that might need to be put in place for them. That's where we sort of really need to get a grip of things.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Monster Bingo every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel. €3,300 must go with €1,000 on the last page. Doors open 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo this and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up? Fresh colour for your walls? Or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
Are you renovating your home or moving house? Either way, it may require a clear out. Before you fill your skip with items you no longer need, think circular and ask yourself, can the item be reused, given to family or friends, recycled, donated to charity, or even sold? So think before you skip it. Go to mywaste.ie for help and suggestions on how to do a clear out in an efficient and circular way. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
At iMotors, it's not just about cars, it's about great experiences. Just ask Michelle.
I recently purchased a car with Gavin at iMotors. Very professional, happy to help, and the trade-in was seamless.
If it worked for Michelle, it can work for you too. Browse trusted used cars now at imotors.ie or visit their showroom today in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Ours to Protect is back on the airwaves this Wednesday after the 8 o'clock news. This month we're talking all things food waste. So join me, Donna Marie Doherty, and the inquisitive young minds of Donegal on how our food goes from farm to plate and hopefully not to landfill. Ours to Protect is brought to you by Highland Radio, the IBI, and is funded by Commissioner Man with a television licence fee.
Okay, if you want to hear how a man went from sleeping on parks, a hopeless drunk, to becoming an internationally respected lawyer, well, don't go anywhere.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to noon show on Highland Radio.
And at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update and say good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. There's been a 3-car collision near Illistron this morning. No injuries reported. Gardaí say they received a report of the 3-car crash on Kilmacrennan Road, Letterkenny, at approximately 9:45 today. Gardaí are investigating an incident in the area of Gortonree, Kilmacrennan in the early hours of this morning. The incident happened at approximately midnight. As part of their investigations, Gardaí are seeking dashcam footage from around the area from between 11:30 last night and midnight this morning. They're particularly interested in hearing from anyone who may have observed a red and black scrambler motorbike and 2 men on board it between those times. A major change to rent regulations will see Donegal and the rest of Ireland designated as a rent pressure zone. The new rules will go to Cabinet for approval today. It'll mean landlords can only reset rents if a tenant voluntarily leaves their property. Gardaí are investigating the theft of a blue Toyota Sienta with a partial registration of 171D62. It was stolen from the car park at Letterkenny University Hospital in the early hours of Saturday morning last, between 4 and 8:25. When it was located, crashed into a ditch at Manorview Park in Letterkenny. Another car, a Toyota Aqua, was also targeted but not entered. Meanwhile, Gardaí say a number of cars were tampered with and damaged in the Remelton area on Friday and Saturday last. The government is expected to change how property tax is calculated in a bid to stop major increases. Property prices have surged by around a quarter since 2021. That's led to concerns that taxes may also rise sharply. The government is now going to change the way property tax is calculated. They're pledging that homes valued at less than €500,000 will see bills increase by less than €23. And Gardaí are appealing for information in relation to the theft of a Bullinay horse from a field at Chure Muff over the June bank holiday weekend. It happened between 5 on Saturday, May 31st and 10 a.m. the following morning. The horse in question is male, white in colour, 3 years old, 16 hands in height, and has an anchor tattoo on its neck. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thanks, Donald.
Every business has a story to tell. And as Ireland's leading delivery experts, An Post Commerce is helping more businesses connect, trade and thrive on a bigger scale. Give your customers confidence with our next day delivery service. Save on postage with an Advantage card, or scale up your business with the e-commerce hub, connecting you to customers in Ireland and beyond. Grow with An Post Commerce today. An Post Commerce, making better happen.
Okay, very welcome back to the programme. A caller says, what message is being given to this county when two child sex abuse cases were given suspended sentences and a third person was distributing images, was also given a suspended sentence? All used addiction as an excuse for their behaviour. It's no wonder these crimes are continuing. There is simply no deterrent. And I think speaking generally, because that's all I can do, speaking generally, it also is very important too, I think, to sort of ascertain where people live and their proximity to schools, etc. Right, now I'm joined in the studio by Danny McFadden, author of Wilder Shores, and with home in Falcarra too. Hi, Danny.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Great to have you with us. How are you keeping?
I'm good, thank you.
Great stuff. Now, Wilder Shores, that was released last year. Is it an autobiography?
Yeah, it's a memoir.
Yeah.
It's a memoir, so it captures a couple of themes. I think my sort of recovery from alcoholism, and the second theme is recovering from anxiety. It's the two main themes. But it's also about my background and what happened and where I am today.
And it is a remarkable story, isn't it? You were an alcoholic.
I am alcoholic, yeah.
Of course, yeah. Sleeping in parks, homeless. Take us back to then. When was that, and how did you find yourself with that lifestyle?
Well, I never expected to find myself ever. If you asked me at 20 years of age, would I ever end up sleeping in parks or sleeping rough? Of course, I couldn't imagine it. But well, what happened was my drinking steadily got worse. I was either in London or in Ireland, and my mother got arrested. I said I wanted to try one more time, to change my life. So she bought me a ticket to Australia, and that was the best thing that, in hindsight, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because once I got to Australia, I had no support, no family, no friends, no relatives to sort of pick me up. So I ended up on the streets within a very short time. And that was the good thing about that was that I became very ill. I was suffering from malnutrition, DTs, alcoholic poisoning, you name it. Ended up in hospital, and I was very lucky that one of the nurses introduced AA to me there.
It's remarkable because that was your last chance, but then you got your big second chance, really. Was the notion that you leave, that you could leave Ireland, you could leave London behind and just completely reset in Australia? And did it last at all, or did you slip into old habits and destitution immediately?
No, I was very lucky. From going to my first AA meeting and making the decision that I wanted to change my life, I haven't had a drink since.
Yeah.
So it's 45 years now, which is I'm a very lucky man. I think, ending up basically on a rock bottom. Well, why did I go to Australia? I think part of me was I was so ashamed and so sick of my behaviour in London and around people that, in a sense, I was going there to get lost. And it was the end of the line for me, really. And I knew once I went, so choosing to go to AA was not choosing to join AA. It was whether did I want to live or die, really.
Yeah.
So when I said, yeah, I'll go to this meeting. And when I went there, I had a look around. I thought, oh, my God, all these old people in their 40s. I was 28, and look at me now. And but I realized but a voice also told me, and part of me said, well, I'll come back when I'm their age. But also a little voice said to me, Danny, you're never going to be their age.
Right.
And I knew that, not a dramatic thing, but I just knew that.
You seem to have a great awareness of your situation, when you were in London, when you were in Dublin, in Ireland, and then in Australia. Is that common, do you think, that sort of, you seem to know that you're in a bad situation, that things are desperate, that I need to do something. It's not necessarily the story we often hear when we speak to people who are alcoholics.
Well, I knew I was chronic alcoholic when I was 18.
Yeah.
And I think it was because my father was an alcoholic. So I was brought up in that kind of thing, and I knew very quickly. And when I was young, I said to myself, I'll never be like Dad. But what could I do? I couldn't control it. I was exactly the same. So I had that realization, but just realizing you have this drug addiction, the problem is, what do you do about it? And then the nightmare is trying to manage the drinking and then the anxiety and treating the anxiety with alcohol, which never ever works.
Well, it amplifies it, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And did you, we will talk about your anxiety, but initially, was drink there to sort of blunten that, to give you a bit of confidence as well? I mean, obviously you're growing up at a time and in a community where, you know, drink is ever present. That's just the way it's easing now, but it was the way it was. I mean, obviously probably it was expected that you would drink, but were you medicating your anxiety at that time as well?
Yeah, I realized I was, and I realized now, looking back when I was writing the book, I realized how much. And in a sense, it was quite logical, because it's the only thing that gave me any kind of confidence or peace of mind. So, for instance, if I wanted to meet people or, you know, have any interaction with people, which was always really brought on anxiety with me, 2 or 3 drinks would sort of level me out so that I could actually cope. And it was the only thing was, I knew it was an illusion, because I knew sooner or later the alcohol or the drugs were going to wear off.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You have obviously you had an addictive nature, which would talk to your alcoholism, but you're also, you're also a young, handsome man in the 60s, right?
Yeah, well, the 60s, that you could do a lot of things in the 60s that you couldn't get away with now, I can assure you.
Yeah, did you find you couldn't dip in and out of stuff, though, that if you sort of experimented with a drug that you found yourself?
I suppose in a way, Greg, I was lucky, because heroin hadn't really hit big then. And the thing was dope, marijuana was big, but marijuana always made me feel morose and brought me down. So I much preferred the excitement of drink. And so I never really I would smoke for companionship, but I never really got into.
Wasn't your thing?
Acid I got into, LSD, which was, as you may know, that does some strange things to you.
Yeah, hallucinations.
Yeah, you're away with the fairies. Yeah.
So, just I want to pick up a story from your first AA meeting, but I just wouldn't mind the timeline. So, you knew you were an alcoholic at 18.
Yeah.
So you were going from pillar to post. You went to Australia at 28, did you?
Yes, I did.
And how long after you washed up in Australia, effectively, did you go to your first AA meeting? How wide's that window roughly?
It was probably about 5 or 6 months.
Right. Okay. And up until this point, was there anything in you that you thought you weren't achieving? Like, did you find that you had a particular skill that you maybe later on went to lean on, which we'll talk about? Like, did you feel that you had unfulfilled potential, or did you hate yourself, or what was your view of yourself?
I was full of shame and self-hatred.
Yeah,
full of shame, self-hatred, guilt. The eldest son, and I always felt that very much.
You were hugely self-aware. Again, I'll use that words. You were punishing yourself, emotionally and physically.
Yeah, and in a way, going to Australia the thought was to me, well, if they never see me again, it'll be good for them.
Yeah.
Now, whether that was also me protecting myself because I couldn't stand the accusatory eyes anymore, the letting people down all the time, which you do.
Right. So you walk into the first AA meeting.
Yeah.
Pick the story up from there.
Well, I walked in, as I said, I looked around, I thought, oh my God, what am I doing here? These weird people, an American cult of some kind. I had no idea. But one thing I knew is I went there because there was a group of people there. I knew they were alcoholic and they were sober. So I didn't care about any of the slogans on the walls. I didn't complicate things. I thought, I'll keep coming because somehow hanging around with these people, I can, and then that will give me a chance perhaps to see what life could be. What was the life that I could have? What possibilities could I have? I wasn't thinking of it so clearly then, but somehow being around these people and listening to them, and later on, working on myself with the 12 steps of AA, which I'm sure you've heard of many times.
And how quickly did you sort of start seeing the wood for the trees, if you know what I mean, light at the end of the tunnel. Because, I mean, for 10 years up until then, you know, a bit of self-loathing, you know, taking an awful lot of blame on yourself, alcohol, drugs. Like, how soon after that first meeting and the progress in the 12 steps did you start? Was it like a rebirth or something? I'm just curious as to what changes in that time.
I went, for instance, during those 10 years, I'd gone on many geographicals. I'd worked in Denmark, I'd worked picking grapes in France. I was always running away, you know, looking for, and the only problem was wherever I went, I always found myself at the other end, and it always ended up in a mess. I was always running out of town, so to speak, because I'd leaving this
it's like trying to run away from your shadow in the desert.
Yeah, exactly. How can you run away from your own shadow? And this is a good analogy. But the kind of payback was very quick for me because I'd been living on the streets, and they gave me the opportunity to go into rehab, which is a very small hospital in a place called Geraldton. It's only 12 beds there. And I was sleeping in a bed for the first time in a long time. I was showering every day. I was having food. So that kind of feedback, and I was still a young man. So my physical recovery, you know, I felt very, very quickly within 2 or 3 months.
You were able to bounce back.
Yeah, and they were giving me work. I was going out working on farms. You know, you could have a day kind of work.
I'm sorry to ask this question. It's probably not the right time, but as a parent, were you able to feed this information back to your late mum? Do you know, was she able to see?
Eventually,
okay.
yeah, eventually. And she did. She got to see me, fast forwarding very, very much. When I became admitted as a solicitor in the UK, I didn't realise I did the exams in Australia because I was a solicitor there. And when I got to the UK, I didn't realise that they were actually going to have a graduation ceremony
for you.
I didn't know that. And so Mum was able to come down to the Law Society.
That's brilliant. I'm delighted about that.
That was very moving for him to see, for my mother to see that. Yeah,
unbelievable. This person that she said goodbye to, not recognisable.
Well, Mum was very clever because later on I said to her, Mum, what did you ever think? She says, oh, I always used to, she was a Limerick woman. She said, oh, I used to always pray for you. I said, who did you? Yeah, she said, yeah, I always used to pray to St. Jude. And I thought nothing of this until a Beatles song came out, and then I remember reading somewhere St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was lost causes. Well, anyway.
And I thought to myself, I burst out laughing when I knew this. I thought, well, Mum knew her saints, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, I was so curious about whether your mum got to see it. I had to ask that question at that point in time.
She did,
but anyway, that's good. That's really good. Right. So listen, I mean, there's so much here. We are going to have to skip a bit. So, right. When you decided that you were going to sort of go on and study in Australia, what directed you, and what made you so ambitious?
I think it was the me coming out that was always meant to be.
Like you shed your skin, really.
Yeah, it's exactly that. This was the person that, without the drug addiction, that could be. Now, I didn't know who that person was. For instance, when my first big step was when I was in a bush town. I went bush from when I left rehab. I went bush, and I ended up being the town librarian. So, you know, God loves a joke. You know, I'm lying on the streets in the next town 9 months before, and then I'm the town. Anyway, so that was the beginning of really being handed back. When I got the job of the town librarian, the lady who was taking over in the interim, she stayed there for the first week, and then on the Friday she said to me, "Oh, Danny, I forgot." And she walked back into the library and she handed me the keys. She said, "These are yours now." And I just knew it was literally being handed my life back again.
Amazing.
You know, so she handed me the keys, and I had some books, and I pretended to drop them because I didn't want her to see the tears in my eyes, because I realized the significance. And it was up to me then what I did with it, you know.
Yeah. So from librarian to...
Yeah, well, I used to watch the ABC TV in Australia. It was always this, still have the very English orientated, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm in Asia. Why we're so close to Asia? Why is there no news about Asia? And then I was reading the Sunday paper, and there was a degree in modern Asian studies, and the state librarian of Western Australia he gave me a reference and they accepted me. So I bought a Combi and drove across to Nullarbor, which is 3,000 miles or something, and drove across in my second-hand Combi to Brisbane and started university.
And what was that like?
It's horrible because it was the worst year of my life because my anxieties came back 100-fold. And so I was 5 years sober or something, so that my underlying problem, which was me, was chronic anxiety. The universe or my higher power said, now you've got time to deal with it. And it was horrible. And I think it was because I was amongst all these young people, and I was 30-something, 33. And I just felt like a fish out of water, and I wanted to do so well, and am I good, and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, were you catastrophizing and all that kind of stuff?
It's a horrible year. I used to sometimes, and I'd go to a lecture, and I couldn't even put my hand up to ask a question. And I would get so frustrated, I would sometimes go into the toilets and cry because of that anxiety, which
Yeah.
But anyway, I did somebody...
What worked for you with the anxiety?
Well, what happened, I went to a course called Self-Help for Self-Esteem, something like that. How I got there, I don't know. But I went there and they said, why are you here? And my worst nightmare was to stand up in front of a crowd of people and speak. And anyway, I stood up and I was blushing and trembling and everything. And I said, I'm here because I'm terrified. and I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say I'm here because, And so during the break, I was standing there hiding behind a cup of coffee, and this really cool-looking lady started walking towards me. I thought, oh, my God, what does she want? And I thought she's going to be a God botherer, as they say in Australia. And she came up to me and she said, oh, I used to have anxiety too. And she said, there's a book by Dr. Claire Weeks called Self-Help for Your Nerves. And she wrote it down for me, and I thought, what would she know about bloody anxiety? Look at her. She's as cool as a cucumber. She's so relaxed. But I got that book and I used and I found out later that, everything about it. I mean, Self-Help for Your Nerves, what a silly title, old-fashioned. But I found out later this doctor, and she became very well recognized in America. She knew some methodology, some, cognitive therapy that worked for people with anxiety. And, for instance, I came in here today. If I was feeling anxious, I'd start to float. So I'd see myself floating. It's a concept, and it started to make my life bearable. But that was actually quite
Did you find it difficult to open to that stuff? Because obviously you're a critical thinker, right? You're very self-driven. Probably in elements of life you feel not know all that sounds like in a bad way, but not. Did you find it difficult to open sort of your mind to, someone else's take that on the face of it doesn't seem like how that could work? Do you get where I'm coming from?
I understand that great. Well, what I had was the gift of desperation.
Yeah.
So both with my drinking and my anxiety, I had nowhere else to go. I would have...
So this was anxiety rock bottom.
Yeah. And so I had nowhere else to go. I would try anything. Except drugs. That's the only thing. I knew that wasn't the answer. And that was actually quite painful because, with mental issues, it's not such, you don't just go from A to B in a straight line. And sometimes I felt like I was a frog climbing out of a well. I'd climb up 3 and then fall back 4 sometimes, and I'd get quite angry. I mean, I'd get quite angry at God, say, well, isn't it bad enough being alcoholic and a drug addict without giving me all these issues? Okay. But, anyway.
Well, listen, we're in conversation here with Danny McFadden, who is an author and has a remarkable story. We've heard of his time on the streets of London, on the streets of Australia, through AA, on to his studies. And the story only gets more remarkable from there. But I must take a very quick commercial break, and I'll be back with more from Danny after these.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Join Davita's home care team. We value individuality. We deliver care with compassion and respect. We will train you and support you every step of the way. But above all, We will empower you to make a meaningful difference every day. Your life, your way. Join Davida. Apply today at davida.ie or call your local Davida office.
You might think this bus air and recruitment ad isn't for you, but keep listening. If you love driving and enjoy working with people, you've already got what it takes to become one of our next generation of great drivers. We'll train you, pay you while you learn, and we offer a great salary and benefits too. Sound good? We're hiring now, so don't wait. Apply today at careers.busaaron.ie. Bus Éireann. Be part of it.
Donegal County Council would like to invite residents of the Donegal Town and Ballybuffet-Stranorlar areas, members of the public and other interested parties to participate in the 4th public consultation for the Barnesmore Gap Greenway project. The project is currently in Phase 3, Design and Environmental Evaluation, and the purpose of the consultation is to inform the public of and invite feedback on the preferred route that has been identified. The public consultation will take place in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town on Wednesday the 11th of June between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. and in Jackson's Hotel, Ballybuffet on Thursday 12th of June between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. Donegal County Council staff and their design consultants will be present on both days to listen and register your views. For additional project information, please visit the dedicated project website at barnesmoregapgreenway.ie or contact the Donegal National Roads Office on 074 9724 500 or by email at design@dnrdo.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
11:24. So, Danny McFadden, you obviously qualified then in your Asian Studies course. Okay, so what comes next? Because where we're going to end up, by the way, listener, is Danny working in conflict management around the world, mediation, dispute resolution, and we'll get to that. But just fill in the blanks between your qualification and how your career progressed from there.
Yeah, well, my life's never gone in a straight line.
Sounds like it.
No, someone gave a review to the book and said, Danny's life doesn't make sense. And I suppose it doesn't in sort of a linear sort of sense or going in a straight line. But when I was at university, one of the Chinese teachers there, because we could choose an Asian language and I chose Chinese. I was terrible at it, by the way, and that's not false modesty. But we had a new Chinese teacher and she had a lot of connections, or guanxi as they call it in Chinese, with the education department in Taiwan. So she could get us scholarships, and lo and behold, something said to me, go for it. And I said to Elizabeth, my Chinese is not very good. Would I be accepted? And she said, well, if you're willing to try, I'll get you a place. And so I sold the combi for $1,000, and that bought the ticket to go to Taiwan. And then I found myself studying Mandarin at university in Taiwan.
Did you find Mandarin easier to pick up in sort of that more immersed environment?
Yeah, well, I was very lucky because very few people in Taiwan in those days spoke English, and same in China when I later on went to China. So I was very lucky to see the early China and Taiwan. But Mandarin, for those people who are studying it, is a very difficult language. I also speak Indonesian, and what I found is Indonesian, for instance, English, they're easy at the beginning. You can, good morning, how are you, etc. And so you can actually converse quite quickly. But with Mandarin, it's the opposite. The beginning is very tough. You've got tones, you've got, script, you've got all that stuff, and then it gets easier. So sadly, and my fellow students in those days, some would drop out then. Although every month I threw my books at the wall and said, I've had enough. I'm sick of this baby talk, because you don't make progress. At least I didn't very quickly. But I've later gone on to, very lucky that I work in Mandarin, I train in Mandarin.
And obviously to those, in terms of your career progression and your opportunities, being a fluent Mandarin speaker, Indonesian and obviously English, very useful.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So what did you
lucky.
qualify in Taiwan with then?
Well, I got a diploma in Mandarin, and I was supposed to go there for a year, and ended up there about over 2 years.
So what did you start studying next?
I went back and I finished my Modern Asian Studies degree. I looked around for work involving Chinese. Wasn't much around, even though the Australian government in those days was pushing everyone to learn Mandarin. It wasn't quite accepted in business circles. I called one coal company who did business with China, and he said, "Oh, mate, we don't have anyone speaking Chinese here. We got a bloke speaking Italian." But, he didn't want to give up the trips to China and the massage and the banquets, He didn't want an expert like me getting in the way, you know.
All right, you were blocked.
Yeah, I was blocked every time. But I did find work with a wonderful guy, an entrepreneur in Australia, and that took me into China and various other ventures,
Did you learn from him as well, sort of in terms of...
Yeah, I learned when I was in Taiwan, I ended up working for Chinese business people there who are still my friends. And I learned more about business from sort of shadowing them around than I could learn in any sort of masters, I think, because the Chinese are incredibly good at business, as you know.
Yeah, indeed. Now, you became the director of the Centre for Effective Dispute Resolution, right? What was the role, or what is the role of that?
Yeah, well, the CEDA, the Centre for Effective Dispute Resolution, is Europe's largest, you could say, mediation body. And that happened. I'd been a lawyer in Brisbane for about 5 years. I decided to spend some time with Mum in Kentish Town, and because I'd been away for so long, I thought, well, I'll go there. And while I'm there, I'll see if I could find a job in law just for the crack. And if it didn't work, I'd go back to Australia.
It's very impossible to track your career path.
I know,
because you've just qualified in Mandarin. You're back doing the Asian studies, and I ask one question, and you're now a qualified lawyer. How in God's name did you become a qualified lawyer then?
Yeah, I don't know. That's it,
That was in Australia, right?
I'd been working for some Chinese entrepreneurs. had my own real estate company, all this kind of stuff. So I was working with high wealth Asian clients because of my Mandarin and my relationships. So I worked for one guy, and I actually was able. Real estate is 24/7. 6 days a week, 7 days a week. If you've got Asian clients, there's no off time. So I was doing that, and then one Asian entrepreneur, he asked me at a venture capital company, he said, work for me, and it was 9 to 5. And at 5 o'clock, I thought, what do I do for the rest of the day? and so I thought, well, I'll see. What about going to university? And so I went to the Queensland University, and I said to this guy who's actually Irish, I said, what could I study? And he said, what do you want to do? I said, well, could I be a doctor? He said, yeah, mate. I mean, that was just wonderful, this kind of open attitude. And or a lawyer. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, but you'd have to study biology. I said, I will forget that then. I'll become
to be the doctor.
Yeah, I'll become a lawyer. And so I tried it. And my wonderful wife, Teresa, she was working in the bank at that time. She's from Taiwan. I met her in Taiwan. And she said, well, so I went to night school and studying law. And then she said to me, do you like it? I said, yeah, actually, surprisingly, I do. She says, well, take 2 years off.
Wow.
And so I did.
That's a big show.
So I kind of worked on an accelerated program myself. Part of that was going to America, doing a couple of units at Marquette University in the States, which was wonderful. So there I was, and then I became a commercial lawyer in Brisbane. How did I get that job? I was sending out all my CVs and no replies. And then I met a guy in the gym, and he said his dad was the managing partner of a small law firm. And I told him about me, and that's like everything. That's the way I got that.
Yeah, but it sounds like you made these opportunities, though, didn't you? I mean, are you just incredibly lucky? Because the way you describe it is, if you fall over, you're landing on your feet, right? But were you? I mean, obviously, you were able to see opportunities. You had good support through Teresa.
Yeah,
you're obviously very driven. All of this stuff whilst there's some interesting angles to it, you had to make the opportunities every time they were presented to you. Well,
what I found is, and I'm not preaching to people, but you have to do the hard yards. So if I was looking for a job as a lawyer, I had to send out all the CVs. I had to cope with all the rejections, which is very difficult. But then, as you say, Greg, when that opportunity came along, it's knowing when to grab it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is, don't wait until I'm full of confidence, because that day never comes. My knees would be shaking, and and I'd say, I'll have a go.
Okay.
And I think the ability to say, have a go, is
not in its crudest sense. Is there any element of fake it till you make it in this story?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And imposter syndrome. Yeah, I suffer from that big time,
Right, so we're going to have to fast forward to the early 2000s. You're involved with Cedar. At what level are you mediating, seeking to? Is this in business? Is it political?
Big commercial cases. 2 businesses, they're in court. They decide. Someone says, well, why don't you pull your head in Australian term? Why don't you consider solving it? They can't do it themselves, so bring in
this could be like
professional mediator.
IP encroaching.
Yeah, I mean the last. I'm talking about IP. The last case I did in Hong Kong. 3 companies, they're involved in an IP dispute. We spent 2 days trying to resolve it. They settled at some hundred thousands of US dollars. Instead of having a mammoth court case and the stress and all that. Yeah. So I was doing those kind of cases and small cases too, neighbourhood cases. So I did a whole range of things, and I still do that in Hong Kong.
Are you still involved with Cedar?
Yeah, I was on the phone to them, a Zoom call yesterday. We still do training actually do a lot of training in Ireland, down in Dublin, which I'm not involved in, funny enough. But we still, provide training in China and places like that.
What was your role with as acting director of mediation at the United Nations in New York? What is your standout role there?
Luck again. I met a guy in Beijing, had a meal, a professor at a university, John Barkat, and then 2 years later, he's the ombudsman for the UN in New York, and he sent me an email saying, we need to set up a mediation division in New York for the UN. Could you come over and do it for us?
Mm. And what were the parties
Cedar seconded me there, which is amazing.
Were you overseeing that department, or were you directly involved in mediation? And I suppose just give us an example of the role of mediation within the United Nations.
As you know, these international civil service bodies like the UN, they have thousands and thousands of staff around the world, and they get into disputes, internal disputes. And so I was both mediating those in New York and plus setting up the office itself. And then it takes time. They move a bit slowly. So they said to me, look, we haven't got a director. Will you come in and act as director until we get one? And so it was wonderful. We were living in Manhattan in 2008 and 2009, beyond my wildest dreams,
What's your tactic, your key thing? Is it to find common ground? Maybe start
try and find common ground, but there's often not a lot of common ground, because if they had any, they wouldn't be there. Yeah. It's a tough negotiation. Once they build up trust in me and get to know Danny a bit better, then I can be, let's put it this way, I don't tell them what to do, but I can be very forceful.
Very persuasive?
Well, I can sometimes hold up a mirror and say,
Right. So, the appointments keep coming. 2010, regional mediator Asian Pacific for the World Bank Group. 22, appointed regional mediator Asia for the International Monetary Fund, the old IMF, who we're very familiar with. And in 23, appointed by the Supreme Court of China as an expert in mediation to assist the China International Commercial Court. There's no slowdown here. We're bang up to current times.
Yeah, well, what I found was, and the same thing, that these changed in networking. When I went to Hong Kong, it's very Asian, but I think in any business, it was a question of networking. Working very hard, getting business, getting your name out there.
What's your role with the IMF?
Basically, for example, I was in Beijing 2 weeks ago for the IMF, and then the week before I was in Laos, Thailand, and where else was I? Vietnam, delivering workshops to the staff there and talking about how to deal with internal conflict, that kind of things. Yeah. And if they have cases, if they have, employment cases where someone's challenging something, they'll ask me to be the mediator.
And your role with China, you can't say China anymore without that Trumpism coming into it. Supreme Court of China as an expert in mediation to assist the China International Commercial Court. Now, how does that, if any way, overlap with the conversation of tariffs and what have you? What would the role of the International Commercial Court be in China?
Well, they're looking to see if there are, for instance, disputes about between companies about tariffs, about unfair practices, about IP issues. That's basically what it's set up for. But when we're talking about what's happening between Xi Jinping and Trump, that's at a totally other level. That's sort of like...
Yeah, but you will hear stories whereby as part of the wider situation that the Chinese government will accuse the Americans, say, for instance, of illegality in the administration of tariffs in certain areas or breaking agreements or what have you. So presume that falls in under that. So all of these roles are ongoing, are they? I mean, how in God's name do you manage your time?
I suppose it goes back to the days when I was... basically the early days of working with Asian parties, like for instance, Hong Kong, nobody ever stops. And I should, but I never put out of office on my emails, and it's just a practice. But I'm older now, and I don't chase business.
But you can pick and choose what you wish to do.
As much, I can pick and choose. Like I enjoy working with the IMF, for example. I enjoy training young mediators.
But you're all over the place still. I mean, where are you next week?
Well, basically most of the time, thankfully, up in Dunmore in Whakaara.
Right.
Which we got a farm there, which is... I didn't see that one coming either. That's my grandfather's farm.
Okay, so it's your actual grandfather's farm.
Yes, it is.
You acquired that, didn't you?
Yeah, the house there is 160 years old, so I've been told, and we've just renovated part of it, saved the roof, so to speak, and that has very fond memories for me.
I take it you didn't have to get a mortgage.
No, I didn't. No,
not.
I don't think they'd give me the Irish banks to give me much of a mortgage.
Right, I suppose no money joke. And then how is Teresa settled to life here?
She loves Donegal. It's much to my surprise. I mean, when I said to her, "How about we buy back the family farm?" The first thing she said, "Will we make money?" Because a very, Chinese and very logical question. I said, "Well, I don't know if we'll ever make any money, but it's something I'd like to do."
Well, we won't lose any. That's what I would
Well,
have
I
said.
was hoping. I was fingers crossed in those days. Yeah.
Yeah, and the IMF. We had them here. They were here and we're still really recovering from that. Any commentary in relation to that?
Well, they sometimes do a thankless job, I think. They have to go into economies that are in turmoil. For instance, Argentina, again, is...
I thought everything was rosy over there. I thought he went in there and got rid of the Department of Education, made these sweeping changes, and Elon Musk is saying we need to be taking this guy's lead. Yeah, well, it might not be following the IMF rule book on how to do it, but they respond to, like, they work very hard with places like Laos, which are mid-level developing economies, still with Vietnam, although Vietnam economy is doing very well, although up to now it's still holding its breath about the tariff situation with Trump, because a lot of Chinese businesses, as you know, just once they got heavy tariffs moved all their factories over to Vietnam. And the Vietnamese people are very hardworking. Have you ever been there? No.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't match a single page of your passport, let alone it in its entirety. No, I am really quite culturally. But listen, if you ever need me to travel with you, do some. I don't know if you're any good in social media. I can do a few Facebook posts for you.
Okay, well, I'll take you up on that. Be careful.
What is China's view of Donald Trump? Do they respect him? Do they think he's a madman? They certainly can't ignore him.
Well, it's strange with China, but people don't quite understand. Like during the 2008-2009 economic crisis, I was traveling around China and all over the place. No one batted an eyelid because And then with Trump, okay, they don't like some of the things, Trump's tactics. They see it as bullying. Well, it's not me saying it. Xi Jinping, the president, refers to it as, or his spokesman refer to it as basically bullying. I don't think they realize just how strong China is these days. You can go to a third-tier city. They're all driving new cars. They're not even thinking about what's happening in the West. They don't really care about. They've got their own brands. They don't care too much anymore. They used to about wearing a Nike T-shirt or something. Those days have gone.
I thought it was really interesting, and it was a very shrewd tactic in that some of it was true, some of it not so true. But they were pointing out how cheaply some of the high-end brands are made, as if to say, use of the mugs here. We're just walking around with these all of the time. Listen, I don't believe any of it, Danny. It's that remarkable story. I think you're pulling the wool over my eyes. But it is something else. Are you the same? I mean, you said earlier on, in fact, you corrected me, and I appreciate that, you're an alcoholic.
Yeah. Well,
that's with everything that's happened between then and now, and I know it's sort of, part of the program and such, but I mean, you're still the same person fundamentally. Not the same. I'm on about the same skin and bones, right? I don't mean the same person that you were then. You can never forget that, I suppose.
No, I don't worry. I don't wake up worrying about being an alcoholic. I don't fear. I have no fear around alcohol. But I know, doing basic things, just go to meetings, just try and be as, follow some decent principles, be as honest as I can in my life. Don't get into any, let's put it this way, unhealthy behaviors. That, one day at a time. Yeah, one day. And I never really ever believed that you could be happy sober. I really was. I was one of those people that thought, how can you ever?
Yeah, there's no life after drink.
Oh no. And when I joined AA, I thought, this is the end of my life. Oh my God! I didn't realize it's the beginning. It was actually the beginning.
The beginning of a remarkable life. And there's key areas like what say that nurse that took an interest in you. Say that, the first groups of individuals when you walked into your first AAA meeting, and then there's others that guided you along the way. Are you the type that's very grateful to that that you remember them? Because
absolutely, yeah. I don't remember them in the book, and when I got on my feet, I sent money back to the hospital in Gelton.
Brilliant.
And said, look, have this for your nurse's Christmas party. And they were quite surprised to get it. And I said, I know you see a lot of people come and go, and it's hard working with addicts, which we are, whether it's drugs or alcohol. Plug for AA in Letterkenny is very strong, and for Cara and Dunfanny everywhere.
But the message is still the same. Yeah. I mean, obviously your story has taken a remarkable turn. But that being said, the core message here right now is, if someone's listening to this, if they're an alcoholic or if they are addicted, and you're prepared to start that journey, you're at that point where you can. It's relative. Maybe it'll be owning your own property. Maybe it's getting a car. Maybe it's starting a family. It might not be becoming, fluent in different languages or heading up big organizations. It's, what works for you. But, it can be incredibly significant for you. We find our happiness in different ways.
Absolutely. I mean, you could be, why not? But I mean, I actually still like doing, I still like doing physical work. Working in the trees, streaming or anything. Be the best bricklayer.
I call that flutering.
Flutering.
I found that no, but it is like I've found that as I've got older, I can walk out of the house, and the only best way I could be fluter. Move things around in the shed. Inexplicably.
Yeah, knock a few posts in here and there.
Exactly. Sweep a bit of dust from one corner of the shed to the next. And go and look at a head. I'm just content myself flutering. I don't know what the other word is. But
it's a lovely expression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the book is out a bit, obviously, and it's the book's most relevant to our audience. I know you've done other books which specialise in mediation, etc. But the book's called Wilder Shores, as one person remarked, what was that? What was that quote from the person again?
Well, they said Danny's life doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. That's it, indeed. Well, listen, I'm delighted that you're able to spend time and enjoy Falcara and Donegal more generally with your wife and what have you. And thanks so much for your story. It's brilliant. Really quite remarkable.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for inviting me along.
Okay, that's Danny McFadden. Back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Go electric during our 252 event and discover our full range of rewired iconic Ford cars, including the all-electric Explorer, the all-new Capri, and the Puma has gone fully electric, starting from €29,900. Ford have gone electric. Ireland is going electric. So what's stopping you? Go electric. Book your test drive at Ford.ie. Offer ends 15th of June. Price includes grant and VRT relief and excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply.
New this week in Home Store and More. All outdoor heating is half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price outdoor heating is gone, it's gone. Also, all camping and all bath mats are still all half price. But when all the half price camping and all the half price bath mats are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The Clonmany Agricultural Show Monster Draw. €100,000 in prizes. First prize a Veltra tractor or Skoda Kodiaq car. Second prize a Can-Am Outlander 500cc quad or €10,000. Plus 8 other cash prizes. Tickets are available now online at clonmanyshow.com or from any committee member. This would be a great Father's Day gift.
Rossview Interiors in Letterkenny are delighted to offer a limited quantity of sofas just in at unbelievable knockdown prices, with suites reduced from €2,050 to €1,250 and corner suites from just €1,350. There's also storage beds down from €650 to €450 and huge savings on a selected range of dining sets. So make your way to Rossview Interiors, Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, as these bargains won't last.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'd be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'd be them. 07491 43942.
Curan Nasc Áitiúil TFI Shirvishi bus rialta in Achmana agus in Bhunathe fá. Equinol pobl thuithe in Éireann Nasca. Sóbháil suas the tríocha fan géad Hawley, nuair úsáideann tú the TFI Leap Card Shirvishi Nasc Áitiúil TFI in Cháilethe. Like Tilla Olish, Fui Schlitta Agus Amchlor, Thor Quarter Transport for Ireland.ie.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
Brian McCormick Sports. New Hoka trainers in-store and online. Try the new Clifton 10, even softer as you take every stride. New range of colours for men and women. Different widths to suit your feet. Bondi 9. New colours for men and women. Take the Hoka challenge and see what fits you best. If you're road running or walking, maximise your comfort and support at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Yeah, what a remarkable story there from Danny McFadden. I googled it. He does exist. No, I'm only messing. It's just such a such a remarkable story, and I'm really pleased he came in to share it with us. The weather, generally dry today with brighter sunny spells developing as the day goes on. Temperatures 17 to 19 degrees, and just light southwest of variable breezes. Tonight will be dry under broken cloud, lowest temperatures 8 to 12 degrees. Tomorrow, some brighter sunny spells, becoming cloudy with scattered showers developing, turning heavy and thundery later on in the evening. Humid with highest temperatures of 18 to 20 degrees and a moderate southerly breeze. So if you have anything outdoors to do, maybe between now and... Oh, why am I snorting? Between now and tomorrow. Have no idea what happened there. Tomorrow evening. By the way, if you're listening to the podcast, we love having you. And also, if you're listening to the overnight repeat, you can WhatsApp 086 60 25,000 or email comments@highlandradio.com if there's something you want to say, and we can pick them up and then carry them into the next live show, and then you can listen them back whenever you're back. Wouldn't it be a great idea for some company to offer a door camera at a reduced price for the elderly? It would be great. And I like, the thing is, I got a doorbell for the house, and I think it was 50 odd quid. It's and someone rings it and it connects. So even if you're in the house, it rings your phone and you just speak to whoever it is. You don't even have to go outside, and it connects to your Wi-Fi. It was like 50 or 60 quid. And also there's no monthly charges with you stick it on charge, you put it out on your doorbell, and you stick a SIM card in, and it records as well who walks past your door, who knocks it. And I've talked again about these cameras that I have outside the house, and they let you know, you can set them, and they let you know as soon as someone walks around your property or to your property, go straight to your phone. You can open it up, you can even speak to them, you can sound an alarm, you can see and hear what they're saying. And I think those cameras €65. So, 465s are what? I know we're talking big money here. So let's say €280 plus 70 quid for the doorbell camera. So for €250, you can have 2 cameras at the back of the house, 2 cameras at the front, and a doorbell, a video doorbell, all connected to one app on your phone. And maybe you've got someone close to you that can stick them up for you. You'd have the front, back of your house, and as soon as someone walks past them, there's a light comes on, and as I say, you can have an alarm sounding, you can set them to be armed or not armed, that's for 250 quid, 4 remote cameras, 1 video doorbell, all connected to your phone, no monthly bills, and you can stick a SIM card in them if you want to archive footage as well, but it also does keep clips which you can grab, and they're really great. Hey, I'm not here to sell them. I don't even the company is foreign, but I'm just saying, for your own security, you can do that. You don't have to wait. What a great Father's Day present, for an example. 1 camera and 1 doorbell. €120, all big money. I know relative to what your income is, but all very affordable, all very actionable. So the 2 cars, 1 car stolen from the car park at the hospital, and 1 car at its window smashed, and the Gardaí are looking for witnesses, of course. I don't think they've caught who's responsible. We've talked about the cost of car parking at Letterkenny and what is the function of the cost, right? I would have thought there'd be good security there. How can someone go into that car park, steal a car and drive out of it? What's the CCTV coverage like, for an example? Are there any questions that might need to be asked in that regard? I didn't want to say that while the guards were on, because it's none of their business as such, in terms of getting involved in those convos. But I just thought a little bit, it would make me want to ask a question or two. And a caller asked the same question. Is there no CCTV in Letterkenny Hospital car park because you have to pay to park? Maybe there is. The Gardaí will always make an appeal to strengthen the case, potentially. A caller says, when you call the Gardaí to report suspicious activity, it could be up to 2 hours before they arrive. That service just doesn't work, they say. But it does help to build sort of a pattern of movement as well, so it's not useless. A caller says, is it not illegal to cut hedges from March onwards? Greg, out at Letterkenny Road was cut yesterday. I don't know for sure, and those conversations come up really quite regularly. What an amazing story from Danny, and what an amazing man. Met him through a mutual friend some years ago in Asia. Thanks. That comes in from Declan McFadden, Galway, Singapore. Thanks, Declan, for your input. Indeed, he's a remarkable gentleman. I live in Porthall. There are a number of dogs in the area. They bark all night. The council have been notified and the dog warden has been out, but nothing has changed. People can't sleep with the noise. The owners let the dog droppings sit outside the house with the good weather coming. How will we cope with the smell? Can anyone tell us where to go from here? So the council have been notified. Is there an issue in terms of their care? Maybe the IRSPCA might have an interest in it. Maybe give them a call, see what they might say. I don't know. Listen, I haven't been able to get to a fraction of your calls and comments. Please don't be discouraged. It's very much appreciated. I want to say that Anne and Alec Carlin, St. Johnson, it's their 50th wedding anniversary today. Lots of love from Teresa and Anthony and all the family. And that's where we leave it on the show today. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Well, it's not really.